This guy is the God Emperor.
And it looks like that could be it. SOS's main base in shambles now. GG!
Yo, 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 yo!
Ça va ou quoi?
Bienvenue au Nation Noir numéro 5!
Alors évidemment, on sait que vous êtes le meilleur public du monde, mais il y a aussi plein de gens qui nous regardent sur le stream, et il y a même des gens qui ont fait le déplacement ici, en France, pour regarder les Nation Wars, des internationaux. So everybody that speaks English here, thank you for making it the trip to Paris. Thank you on the stream. Thank you for everything. This is Nation Wars 5 Finals. Obviously, we need teams. On a des finalistes, on a 4 équipes, les meilleures de la planète, qui se sont battues pendant 2 mois. Et l'important, c'est que vous allez foutre le bordel quand elles vont rentrer. On est d'accord sur ça? La première équipe, je pense que c'est bon.
La première équipe, bien sûr, qui nous vient de l'outre-Atlantique, représentant de l'Amérique latine. Faites un tonnerre d'applaudissements pour le Mexique! Special Cham et Jim Rising.
Leurs adversaires dans la première demi-finale, représentant du Gouda bien sûr, il s'agit des Pays-Bas. Avec Utermal, Arstem et Optimus.
Ils sont beaux, ils sont magnifiques, ce sera notre premier match. Le deuxième match, Dodu également, fera intervenir un pays très très fort sur StarCraft 2. Ils nous viennent du nord, bien sûr du Fjord, faire un tonnerre d'applaudissements pour la Finlande. Serral, Mouzero et Zhuge Liang.
Et alors vous l'avez compris, si vous avez suivi le tournoi, il nous manque une équipe ici. Généralement, on a tendance à dire que c'est les big boss de StarCraft. Foutez le bordel pour la Corée du Sud. Avec Innovation, MMA et Sourd.
Vous avez les joueurs des Nation Noirs numéro 5, un maximum de bruit!
On espère que vous êtes méga chaud. On a prévu, on a les joueurs, vous les avez introduits comme il se devait. Là, on va vous envoyer une petite vidéo sur ce qui s'est passé dans le Round of 8 si vous n'avez pas suivi la compétition jusqu'à maintenant. Merci d'être là et profitez des finales Nation Wars 5.
Enough of them anyways, it can go wildly in favor of the Terran, but here maybe is finally the final fight.
Okay, we'll see if that's actually the case. Nice Lightning Cloud on the Marines and Marauders, the snipes, they go down, and those goals, they begin to be exposed. They will probably, I know, once again, the bio holds strong. It is the last one with mostly Zerglings, 3-3 attack, 3-3 upgrades on those ones. The Banelings, they will connect with the Ghost, and this time it is over. GG! Mexico all kills. I'm not sure that is good. Oh, Serral doesn't react. Massive storms on top of the army, but Fungos will go down on the Templar. Are we seeing the end of this game? All the infested Terrans get destroyed. And showtime. I think he's doing it. Is he doing it? Is it enough? Yeah.
Oh, the Neuroparasites are really quite good, and Ultras come in. The Ultras have looked so useless. Can they actually do anything here? Immortals are still alive. Neuroparasites are taking out a lot of the Protoss army, and did Cyril just do this?
No,
there's too much.
I think Showtime does it for Germany. The Infestors, he doesn't have any detection. The Infestors, they will actually get out of here. Does he have? Show me the vision. Does he have it? No, the Infestors are escaping.
There's no oracles, there's no observers.
And there is no recall available. That's such a massive win for Cyril.
Oh God, that's
who will
it.
actually get 2 Immortals and 2 Archons with the Neuroparasite. The Stalkers, they get eliminated. The Archons, they shoot at each other. What's happening, guys?
It's gonna be one Tempest.
And now he knows there is no Interceptor. Cyril has done it.
There's gonna be one Tempest, and that's it. Cyril.
That's what we clearly saw there, as the anti-armor missiles are going to go down one more time.
Okay, the intermissile armor is pretty good, but now can you take a fight with this? He's actually retreating because he did deal that some damage. He reduced the armor, but he just doesn't have the units to fight against that army. The Hydralisk and Broodlords, they are still dealing a massive amount of damage. Those 2 tanks on the front are actually going to get demolished right there. There is no energy left on those ghosts. The snipes there are being cancelled. Nice transfuses from Raynor, and I think the Italian player is doing it. He's actually breaking innovation.
There's no answer against all these Broodlords. The Vikings are going to show up one more time. They have been repaired. Can these Hydras get close enough? There are no Vipers here, so no parasitic bomb. A couple more anti-armor missiles are going down. I'm not sure, Funka. Innovation seems like he's actually kind of holding now.
Okay.
And with these Vikings showing up, now there is an answer to those Broodlords.
Okay, he will hold in the end, but boy, that was super tough. Actually getting some pulls on the Ghost, which are the most expensive units here in the Army of Innovation. So I like it on the side of Raynor, but he did hold another opportunity for Raynor to take a good fight. He will try to do it, but he's a little bit blocked by those Neon Violet squares, but he does get a 360 surround here on the tanks. Is it going to be enough with massive amount of roaches? They take extra damage from those tanks with +3 attack. And Innovation, it was quite scary at a moment, but I feel like he's done it.
Best possible fight for Raynor, but not going to be enough in the end. After losing all those Hydras, I guess that was the point of no return, as Innovation was ready to revenge himself, perhaps, for losing against Mexico. He lost 2 TVTs, but he gets the job done here against Italy, and South Korea will be heading to Paris. Completely undetected. He's going to find a couple of roaches here. Prism is going to warp in a couple of additional units in the back, and this starts off very promising. This is not the right engagement for the Lynx, though, because all the Adepts are here, and the Adepts obviously going to have a really good time against the Lynx.
The force fields are just keeping that army from being touched. This is looking very, very bad for Snoot. Is starting to lose drones as well. The Warp Prism's not being touched either, as most of these Hydras are coming forward and just dying one by one, and this could be it for Snoot.
Harstem has such a good read on this matchup at this point, showing us a different style here, but making all the right calls once again. Of course, a little sloppy by Snoot that he didn't see this army moving out, but Harstem with perfect execution, perfect commitment early on, gets the equalizer here. It's just not doable. 5 Immortals are standing there, they're one-shotting almost everything. The Archons are getting healed by the shield batteries as well, and the Netherlands are in a fantastic position.
I can't believe Snoot is going through the meat grinder here, and Harstem is destroying everything. GG, he does it.
Welcome, guys, to Nation Wars 5 Finals. We are in the round of 4 here live at PAX Paris. Some Zombie Grub casting with Rotterdam. How hype are you?
Thanks, man. I'm so excited to be here. It's so cool to see so many people here already. We haven't even played a single game yet today. I've ever sat in front of a big French audience like this. So I'm hyped, Jazz. I've been waiting for this. Obviously, we had a great time in Paris all those weeks, but now it's finally time for the final day, and I'm feeling mighty fine.
It's going to be so great. The crowd is actually amazing. Like, they were lined up from the get-go, ready to go. They've been hyped this entire time. You guys will probably be able to hear them. At least I hope you do, as it's just... It's really exciting. I can see why everyone loves the French crowd, man.
Yeah. I mean, we went to Poitiers once where I was kind of guessing from the audience, but Poitiers is in the middle of nowhere. And I said, this wasn't the same. This is really cool. We are in Paris. I would say in the heart of Paris, but a little bit on the north side, but it doesn't matter. Everyone came out here to watch some amazing StarCraft, and, well, we've got a great day ahead of you. Of course, the prize pool got a little bump as well by Match Arena, because all of you guys joined in, bought those tickets, checked the tiny box that Funka kept telling us about. And this is what we're all fighting for today.
Yeah, a ton of money on the line, especially thanks to you guys. And that is still open, I believe, so you will be able to continue getting your bundles for some time if you have missed out. They're pretty sick looking. And nothing else, that little nuke here, right? It's going to be very useful. I hope we can see a lot of nukes today, man.
It's possible with all the Terrans we have. I mean, I feel like normally with events like this, it's like, okay, who's got the most Zergs? But it's a pretty Terran-heavy lineup overall. I mean, the Netherlands is 2 Terrans. Mexico, of course, the star player is a Terran. Korea is coming in with 2 Terran players. Only Finland decided to be the cool kids and not bring a Terran.
Yeah, they're the only cool ones. No, it's actually a fantastic lineup for every single party. Hearthstone, like, just speaking like on him for a second, just looking absolutely dominating whenever he's brought up. But guys, we're going to be taking a look to the road to the finals.
Every single unit gets unloaded, then suddenly it's not as good. But we'll see if he's able to do that. As we have the Widowmine drop, and he's not reacting. One bit of the probe. That's already 9 and 10.
There's one more mine, right?
No, it's been destroyed by the cannon. It's good for you, Tromo, and maybe they decide to go with a perfect wall with the force field, and that's not a fight you want to take if you need.
Oh, the force field wall does come down. The Liberators have to reposition. Bunker is not set up yet. Was that?
Couple of units coming from the side, but we've got bunkers, and I think Utomo is doing it for the Netherlands. Yes, it is. Nib is dying to that push. Well played by Utomo.
Wow, well played indeed. What an awesome push.
Prism is going to wipe in a couple of additional units in the back, and this starts off very promising. This is not the right engagement for the Lynx, though, because all the Adepts are here. The Adepts are obviously going to have a really good time against the Lynx.
The force field, they're just keeping that army from being touched. This is looking very, very bad for Snoot. Is starting to lose drones as well. The War Prism's not being touched either, as most of these Hydras are coming forward and just dying one by one, and this could be it for Snoot.
It's just not doable. 5 Immortals are standing there. They're one-shotting almost everything. The Archons are getting healed by the shield batteries as well, and the Netherlands are in a fantastic position.
I can't believe Snoot is going through the meat grinder here, and Hearthstone is destroying everything. GG! He does it!
Very exciting road to the finals for the Netherlands. Of course, we have our Dutch caster here who is very excited to be casting his boys live in France.
No bias here, just well, maybe a tiny bit in the heart, guys. It's been really cool watching them play. They had a couple of very fun, exciting clan wars. Hearthstone was almost a little too good in Protoss versus Zerg because some of his PvZs were just not exciting enough because he was just crushing everyone. But I said it right before this nationwide season started. I really believed in these guys. I honestly believe they could make it to the top 4.
Yeah, and you're absolutely correct. And they still have a very good shot to make it to the actual finals later today against either Finland or South Korea. And I think they have a fantastic chance to even win the finals. They're a very strong lineup overall, and they do have a bit of depth with 2 Terrans and a Protoss.
And of course, the finals format is a little different. different than the format we've been using up to this point, and we will still be using, guys, in the semifinals. In case you missed some of Nation Wars, we are playing a best of 7, and it's really cool because I was part of a little bit of the strategy as well. Now, officially, Optimus is the captain, but all 3 guys are very even on this team. They discussed, they went back and forth. It was really cool to see how they were doing the map elimination process. They're like, let's save this one for that, because then, you know, worst case scenario, it would be 2-3 for them, and then we still have game map 6 and 7. So it's really cool. Overall, just, you know, they're all good friends, and I do think that really helps as well. That makes you want to play just those few more games per day, because you want to make your friends happy and you want to do your country and, of course, your buddies proud. Yeah,
these guys are super serious. They land and then immediately they're like, where's the practice arena? Let's go and get practicing. Let's think about our maps. Like, very, very serious. And as, you know, already such good contenders, their mindset seems to be very on point. They're going to be up against Mexico, which, of course, has its strong players as well. Not just all about special, but Cham also really showing here. I mean, we have like 2 teams, it feels, where you had one person you really expected a lot from, Thermal for Netherlands, for instance, but then Harsum actually came out and was very good. And then Mexico, you have Special, who did have his time to shine against South Korea, but Cham also was given plenty of opportunity to show how good he is. Yeah, if you would have asked me a few weeks ago who's the ace of this team, I would always say Netherlands, but either way, they're going to have a very tough match against Mexico. Let's take a look at the road of the finals for Mexico. And it's just Marines that do almost no damage against these Ultras. Yeah, they're getting chopped to bits. I think he just fell right into Jim Rising's hand. Jim Rising had an excellent plan here on Eastwatch. Expect wasn't up to the task to be consistently aggressive and consistently trading with a Zerg player, the Terran, and he realized it a little too late.
Oh, look at this, like the precision of the positioning of Innovation. Look at it. He's dancing with the line where tanks will be able to fire, will be able to shoot. But now tries to get a tank. Nice micro, picking up that tank in the medivac. I mean, Special. But now he's losing medivacs. He's losing medivacs. Innovation on the opposite side of the map, and Liberator getting everything. GG. Special all kills.
Wildly in favor of the Terran, but here maybe is finally the final fight.
Okay, we'll see if that's actually the case. Nice Lightning Cloud on the Marines and Marauders. The Snipe, they go down, and those goals, they begin to be exposed. They will probably, I know, once again, the final holds strong. It is the last one with mostly Zerglings, 3-3 attack, 3-3 upgrades on those ones. The Balins, they will connect with the Ghost, and this time it is over. GG! Mexico all killed.
Fantastic games from our Mexican team, and here they come out now live in Paris amongst this fantastic crowds. They also have a very good lineup. They could certainly do well in both the best of 7 right now, but also the best of 9 later, now that Cham has shown how good he can be. And Jim Rising, always a bit of a wild card.
They're loving it, man. They're having a good time. Even Juanito Special is in very, very good spirits today. He's been nothing but smiles. He's been joking around with everybody. And of course, I mean, one of the most exciting things we saw in this entire season of Nation Wars, we had a couple highlights, and it's really hard to pick one. But I think one of them, for a lot of people, would definitely be Special's performance against South Korea. Yes, it was an online match, but damn, those games were sick.
Yeah, I mean, the games versus Brazil for Cham were fantastic, but there's not really a lot to compare to Special's games versus South Korea, except maybe the Showtime, Sterile series. But those are the best of Nation Wars so far. Maybe the round of 4 will bring us even greater games. But here is our lineup a little more in depth. It's going to be really tough for these guys to take on Netherlands, but I mean, ditto for Netherlands. Like, this is actually going to be a fantastic best of 7. The TVTs are especially what I'm looking forward to, but whether it's the PVZ, TVZs, like, it's just all going to be fantastic.
All the matches are going to be really cool. Of course, these guys have a little bit of history with the Dutch team as well, because these are not new faces. These are players that have gathered quite some experience over the years. Even Cham got very experienced in the last year and a half, making it to all those WCS events, flying around the world, actually collecting a lot of WCS points. But of course, Special is the the ace of this team. Not only did he all-kill South Korea, he of course made it into the top 4 of the global finals of the WCS circuit last year at BlizzCon. I mean, that was an amazing performance. No non-Korean had ever gone as far as Special did, so it's safe to say that he's the ace of the team.
Yeah, I do believe we're going to be having interviews with both of our teams, so we're going to take it away to the hosts.
Ça marche.
Merci Imre, merci Hugo pour cette présentation. Bonjour tout le monde, je suis Adjin, je serai votre host pour cette journée pleine de StarCraft. Est-ce que vous êtes contents d'être là?
Ils sont contents. Je crois qu'ils sont contents.
Donc, je suis ici avec Funka et nous allons interviewer les joueurs.
Alright. Le premier truc qu'on va essayer de faire d'abord, c'est de déterminer si dans la salle, il y a des favoris là. Est-ce que vous préférez une équipe ou l'autre? Apparemment, ils aiment bien Special. They like you, man. They like you a lot. Even though you all killed us. Alors maintenant, on va justement essayer de splitter la salle un peu. Qui est pour le Mexico? Alright, pas mal.
Ok, pas mal, ça va. Mais je pense que vous pouvez faire mieux et maintenant. On va crier pour ceux qui viennent des Pays-Bas. Qui sont pour les Pays-Bas?
Eh, franchement, 50-50, hein. 50-50.
Je sais pas, ouais, c'est serré, je pense.
Comme là, de toute façon, cette demi-finale, elle va être serrée, on le sait, sur le papier, ça va être très compliqué. Maintenant, on va poser évidemment les questions aux joueurs. Paniquez pas, pendant un moment, vous allez entendre de l'anglais, mais après, je vous jure, on essaye de traduire. Voilà. Tu veux commencer?
Ok,
on commence avec les Pays-Bas.
Donc, on va leur demander comment ils aiment Paris, vu que c'est la première fois que les Pays-Bas se qualifient, en fait, jusqu'aux demi-finales. Donc, on va leur demander. Alors, pour commencer, Optimus, so hello, welcome. First of all, like you're the first time that Netherlands qualify for the semifinals, you're in Paris. How do you feel?
I'm feeling great. It's a great city, it's a great crowd. We're looking forward.
Donc, ils sont contents d'être là. Ok. Et puis,
je crois qu'ils ont compris.
Oui, je crois que ça va. Ça va?
C'est bon? Vous avez suivi
vous me
ça?
dites, hein, si ça
Il
va
aime bien Paris, voilà.
Okay. Okay, so you took the train to come here. So how was the trip? Is there anything fun happened to you during the trip?
No, not much fun happened. It was a very relaxing trip, like 2.5 hours from Rotterdam. We just sat, we ate a bit. I don't know, we just sat around, joked. Actually, the guys in the train didn't really like us because we were really, really loud compared to the rest. They actually booked us a first-class ticket, so there's all these guys that feel very superior to the rest. And then there we were, like 30% of the trip, so I'm not sure if we can make the trip back safely, but I'll be glad to stay in Paris. I've been enjoying it, so yeah, thanks for the...
Okay, so is it your first time in Paris?
No, it's like my 5th time.
So can you say something in French?
In French? Yeah, I'm very good at French, so I know bonjour, for example. And also I know MDR.
Okay, thank you. So now we'll ask the same questions for the Mexican players.
Okay, you guys, second time you make it to the semifinals. So you were already in Paris. Last time you were there, you all killed France. Do you want to apologize?
I'm so sorry. At least this time there is no France, right?
Indeed. All right. C'est bon, vous comprenez toujours, pas besoin de traduire, ça va, c'est cool. On est en 2018, ça déchire. Cham, it's your first time, but you rocked in this season. You played amazing against Brazil. You're in super form, super shape. Are you going to take this Netherlands team?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to. They seem too confident, but they don't know what's coming, man.
Right. Jim, a word for the French crowd, something you want to, share to everybody. How do you feel? How excited are you?
All I can say is French crowd is one of the best around the world.
Ok. Il va falloir fermer l'interview.
Maintenant qu'on a fait les introductions, on va quand même leur demander comment ils sont prêts pour la game, comment ils se sentent, s'ils sont confiants.
On fait ça rapido.
Ok, ça marche.
On fait ça rapide.
So, how do you feel confident coming into this matchup against Mexico?
Of course we're confident.
Yeah, I have one last question for Hearthstone because we always say it's the year of Hearthstone. So is it 2018? Is it this your year?
I think slowly but surely it's starting to turn into a decade, and I'm fine with that, honestly.
I guess it's going to decade of Hurston. Thank you, guys. Okay, so is it time to ask for their starting player?
I think we want to know, Jean. I think we want to know. Vous voulez savoir qui va démarrer ce match? Ce sera quoi le premier match à votre avis? Vous avez une idée? Non, vous savez pas. Hein. On va leur demander. Ah, il y a un mec qui dit Arstem.
Ah, Arstem. Optimus.
Optimus. Il y a des gens qui pensent que c'est Optimus. Et Mexique, vous pensez c'est qui? Spécial? Cham? Ok. Et vous savez quoi? On peut leur demander, comme ça on sait pour de vrai. C'est incroyable. Jem, who's going to be the starting player to finish this semi-final?
Me.
Whoa.
The Jim Rising is coming. What about you guys?
I will be starting.
Oh, so the first game for this first semi... Moi, je parle en anglais.
Tu peux le faire en français et en anglais.
C'est vrai, en fait, en français.
Ouais.
Vous parlez tous français ici?
Allez, on y va.
Ok, du coup, le premier match de cette demi-finale, ce sera entre Jim Rising et Optimus. Est-ce que vous êtes prêts? Est-ce que vous êtes chaud?
It's going to be a TVZ to start off this semi-final with Jim Rising and Optimus. One more time. Give it a go. Let's go. Back to the casters, guys. Back to the casters. À vous les casters.
You can go.
Hey guys, that is an exciting matchup as it is going to be starting off on Abiogenesis.
Yeah, that's fun. I love the interviews there. I really love all 6 of these guys. They're fantastic StarCraft 2 players, but they really seem to be enjoying the game and everything that comes along with being a pro gamer. They don't hate standing on a stage there. They love it, and they've been interacting with each other. Lots of banter. Now, honestly, I think this is a very, very tough match to predict. There is a universe where I can see Special All killing. There's a universe where I can see Cham have a massive impact in this match. But I don't know if it's the bias in me, and maybe it is a tiny bit of bias, but I do believe that the Netherlands can squeeze out a victory here, even though I believe it's going to be very, very hard fought.
I don't think that's just the bias talking. I mean, it seems like a lot of people agree that the Netherlands has the better shot, but not the 100% proven shot. Like, absolutely Cham can take a couple of maps they weren't expecting, and absolutely Special can all kill, as he did carry his team through past South Korea to get that first place. Like, only a couple weeks ago.
I think what makes this matchup so fun on paper, guys, is that I think if you look at all 6 players, I think what most people would say, with all due respect, like the lowest skilled player on both teams, it would probably be Jim Rising. Like, Optimus should have a pretty significant lead over Jim Rising, but probably the best of all 6, in most eyes, will be Special.
Right.
So that really balances everything out so much. And what's also very interesting is what I wanted to touch on before we took a look at the road to the semi-finals video from the Netherlands is, in the beginning of the season, if you would have asked me who's the ace of the Netherlands, I would have said Utermal, hands down. You know, you cannot argue about this. Yes, Harsem is great. Optimus is really good too. But Utermal is the ace. But Harsem has been so freaking good this season that maybe it's Harsem the ace?
I think that he might be. I mean, first of all, his PVZ looks fantastic, so Jim Rising and Cham are going to have quite the tough, battle to fight. And then you have that kind of just, I mean, it's rampant amongst the community, amongst the pros, that, maybe PVT is kind of hard for the Terran, and a lot of Terrans would agree with that. So is he the guy to come out and take down Special maybe even twice?
Yeah, and even the way that the Netherlands was doing the videos, I was standing there, and obviously they were doing it in Dutch, but I still speak a little bit of Dutch. Apparently it's getting tough with English as well, guys. Now, so I was listening to it, and the way they were kind of doing it, like, it definitely didn't set anything in stone. But some of the options were, like, what if map 7, for instance, would be a backwater, playing a PVT on backwater, then, and Utermal and Harsem, they were just going back and forth, and Optimus is like, anything works for me, guys. So I feel like even the ranks in the Dutch team within the players are not truly set. I think it honestly depends on who played better up to a potential ace match, who feels it, who's in the moment, and then they can both be sent out.
Yeah, to be honest, I wasn't sure how much I believed in Optimus, like he was probably amongst all 3 of the Netherlands players. He was not the ace. So what did that exactly mean? Well, his game against Knee was actually fantastic. And while it ended up losing, and he admits himself that he just kind of messed up towards the end there, it was really quite good against a player who was playing perfectly fine. It wasn't like a super off day for Knee or anything like that. So I'm like kind of back. I'm like, okay, I think Optimus can absolutely be, if he's in the right zone, the right map, the right situation, like he could also be thrown out as the ace.
Yeah, that's overall perhaps a little bit less likely, but I agree with you. And Optimus is definitely another player that the Netherlands sends out and be like, even if he loses, no big deal. No, that is a big deal because Optimus is very strong. You want him to get some map wins as well. Just very recently online, this man did get his revenge on Neep. Like you said, he played great in that Nationwide match. We all felt like, man, those first 6, 7, 8 minutes, you're doing everything right. And then he kind of fell apart. Well, online, he avenged himself and he took a victory 2-1 over Neep. Also took out Mana in that same tournament. Yeah. Optimus is good, man. I think a lot of people will probably look at like, okay, it's all between Hearthstone and Uterma. I mean, yes, those are the two more accomplished players. Those are two players that have won international events in StarCraft 2. They both were victorious in Shanghai. So maybe that's if we don't win this year, then Nationwide Season 6, we're doing it in Shanghai because apparently that's where the Dutchies always win. But this is gonna be it's gonna be great. It's really fun to watch both of these teams, and I'm excited to see some Jim Rising as well. For Jim, it would be absolutely fantastic to somehow steal a victory here.
Yeah, we got to go back to, I guess, Jim Rising. In even the hype video showed his TV or ZVT against Expect on Eastwatch. It was he had a very well thought out plan on Eastwatch. So I certainly believe that he can have a very well thought out plan on Abiogenesis. As you can see here, this is our map to start off this best of 7.
And you know what it means, Jess? If we take a look at this map, that means that we are very close to finally starting the first StarCraft 2 game of the day. Hopefully the first of many with this system. You never know. Worst case scenario, guys, we have 13 games. Best case scenario, it's like 25?
I was going to say like 9 plus 14. Yeah. No.
It's like 8, right?
Why did we do this to ourselves, man? I was just like, this should be easy, right?
Terrible map, guys. Either way. We're going to see hopefully a lot of games to StarCraft 2 today. But yes, we're going to kick things off on everyone's favorite map. I must say it has really grown on me, actually. Like in the beginning, I hated it, and now I kind of love it. I love the madness we see on this map. I love the madness that the pros bring out on this map, and it's actually pretty enjoyable to play yourself if you just understand that, all right, on this map, I have to play different than on every other map, and as long as you can live with that, it's actually a pretty damn fun map.
You got to really embrace it, as apparently everyone in Asian Wars has. So it has produced some really amazing games, even some longer games. You know, I know the Innovation Special Series was long for a different reason other than being a macro game. It just went on forever as a base trade. But no, there was a couple of games where I was like, you know, usually you end up 2 bases, but it's actually gone on quite long. So I don't know. Jim Rising's always been a 2-base player in my mind as a Zerg, but we'll see what Optimus has in mind, as he can certainly mix things up with a variety of builds. You know, we have both mech and bio being played on this map.
I do think Optimus in general is a pretty smart player. I'm pretty sure that, you know, if you give him 30, 40 minutes to think about the TVZ on a Biogenesis, he'll get better with every minute that goes by, because he's someone that really likes to plan out his builds as well. And as long as everything goes somewhat according to plan, I really feel like he's in his element, and that's where he kind of shines. As long as he can do his thing and the opponent has to react on a Biogenesis, that is doable. On the same hand, it's also one of those maps where if the first thing as a Terran player doesn't work out, then suddenly you're just kind of sitting there. You're like, all right, and now what? You know, do I put all my eggs in one basket? Do I make a massive push? Or
yeah. It's actually very. I'm thinking of the last time I think that we saw, like literally the last time we saw this map was Uthermal having a surprisingly disappointing result on it. He had mech. He had a great game for like 10 minutes, I want to say, and then just 1 minute, 30 seconds even, and suddenly everything just went just sideways. He was just out of position once and got caught off guard. And I can certainly feel like it happens on Abiogenesis, where if you don't scout one thing on either side of the map, which it's not supposed to be difficult to, it's such a small map, but it can happen. Like suddenly it's just there, and you're screwed. Yeah,
scouting is easy if your opponent doesn't do anything, but all of these guys are really freaking good at StarCraft, and that's what you notice when you play against really good players as well. It's like scouting isn't hard, but scouting is hard when someone else is being annoying. But even if it's just like a medevac with 2 units inside of it, and there is a Reaper going around, because then you're occupied, then your attention is like, all right, I need to deal with this. I don't want to lose any workers that I'm not supposed to lose, and then suddenly you don't see that building in the right corner of the map, even if the map is as small as a Biogenesis.
Yeah, it can be, as I said, long, short games, medium games. It's still not the most pleasant map. As you said, you do have to really play to it as opposed to maybe your own style. But I'm sure that both of these guys have had some time to prepare, some time to think about it. When I mentioned that Jim Rising was a 2-base player too, I want to kind of like amend or clarify, because most people would say like, oh, that's really cheesy, right? Zerg on 2-base. Actually, I just know him so much for his 2-base Muta play. Like he gets control over the map quickly and he tries to just hold on to it, which can be very frustrating on a map like that. As as a Terran player, when you try to start dropping in that mid game and suddenly it's such a small map, the Zerg responds to literally everything immediately. It gets very frustrating.
Yeah, like I can get behind Jim playing his own style on the map like Eastwatch, where we also saw him play an excellent ZVT against Aspect, but going for a 2-base Muda build on a Biogenesis.
Asking for Hellions to run in immediately.
Exactly. And even like the moment Stim is on, you know, what do you do if he runs to the other side of the map with 2 Medivacs and 18 Stim Marines? You better have some Banelings, but you can't really have Mudas and Baneling speed that fast.
No,
so it's really hard to pull it all off. We'll see. I'm excited for this. Now, Jim Rising was already here, like they said, in Nation War Season 2 a couple years ago. He's still a good player, guys, but he's also getting more involved in the community. He's attending community events. He does a lot of casting in Spanish for that scene. But at the same time, he's still good enough to qualify for big events, even individual events every now and then. Like just last year, he took out Chem in one of the big qualifiers. I believe it was for WESG. And I mean, that's a really legit victory, because there aren't too many Zergs out there, especially in the North American scene, that can just take out Chem when it matters the most.
Yeah, Chem definitely has like risen the ranks to be like that Mexican Zerg. You know, we have Special for so long, but it was always questionable about the Zerg player from that region. And then Chem just is like, okay, now I'm the best, hands down. But Jim Rising's always there, always kind of threatening, and as you said, just becoming a more active member of the community. So that's always awesome to see. I think we are getting ready to get into the game. Perfect timing. As we once again see the map here. I guess they needed some time to get set up. You saw maybe in the camera shot, actually, that they have their teammates right behind them.
I love it. I love it. It's so cool. Where are the flags, though? I want to see some more flags, you know, some good old red, white, and blue. Yeah. But I think that's really cool as well. That gives it even more of a team feeling. This is a unique event, guys. We don't have too many of these, and we are getting ready. For real this time, guys. Last time I lied. Don't believe my lies all the time. But this time, I am pretty confident. Of course, guys, we did not go into game. There's always some people out there that's like, can you just stop talking and go into the game already? It's like, guys, you know, we would actually love to talk.
We wish.
Yeah, we'd love to talk about the game. We're just having some minor inconveniences here. And of course, we want to make sure that the players are absolutely comfortable, because there are no second chances if things go wrong here. As we take a look at Jim Rising. I mean, this is it's an amazing day for us, for the viewers, for the commentators, but as a player, this day can be brutal, because if you lose your first match and then your team loses it, you're done.
That's it. Yeah, you come all the way to Paris, maybe experience some of the sights, but then that's it, just one game. But we are finally into our first game of the day on a very fun map. It's a TVZ, and in the top left has the red Zerg. It is Jim Rising.
And on the right bottom side of a Biogenesis, representing the Netherlands, or Le Pays-Bas, as they say over here, it is our one and only Optimus. A little bit of a memer, both of them actually. Both of them are a little bit memer. They both stream quite a bit. If you like these guys, if after this game, look at Optimus, he's adjusting his monitor a little bit. Where's the ruler when you need it the most?
Yeah, exactly. He's got to ask Flash for a ruler, man. Yeah, this it's going to be very curious to see which one really starts the aggression. Talked a lot about builds and styles that you can play, but it's always a threat to start off things with even just a bit more of a poke than usual. So Hellbat push, that doesn't necessarily mean it's an all-in, of course. Even like a Roach attack sometimes doesn't mean it's an all-in, depending on what Optimus can do. But for Terrans, usually on this map, the safest option is just going into Hellion Banshee and trying to make sure you see any attack on the way. If you don't scout the Roaches, Banshee sometimes aren't even that helpful, but if you do, it seems like a terrible idea for the Zerg.
I must say, Jazz, this is one of those moments where, as a player, I don't think I could deal with the nerves, man. Like, you travel all the way from Mexico to Paris, and then you play your first map on a Biogenesis. It's just scary, man. I almost get scary for these players, because once again, if you lose here and your team loses the match, that's it. You're done. I mean, you had a great run, and of course, you walk away with some money guaranteed, because of course, these nations are already in the top 4, but still a very, very scary prospect to potentially play your only game on a Biogenesis.
Yeah, man, I guess you kind of, perhaps if you do end up losing here and it's the only game that you get to play, at least you're like, well, I took one for the team. You know, maybe your teammate didn't like to play.
For a second, he didn't start speed, and I'm like, wait a minute, what are you going to do with that gas? But then he did start it just a little bit later. It could have been done like 4. He could have started it 5, 6, 7 seconds earlier, but obviously not a truly big deal yet, as both players will
most likely be a little cautious for all the reasons you just mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, we have the SCV Scout, which just makes absolute sense, not just on this map, but even against, I think, Jim Rising, you're a little like, okay, what is your plan to try and take me down? And it's absolutely a brilliant thing to do. I've seen a lot of Terran players actually put that SCV on the third base, but Optimus is just going to go for the harassment with the Reaper and then check the third, and yeah, there's no drone, kind of snuck out, and that's actually a very good snipe.
I love this audience. They're celebrating first blood like we're back in the Unreal Tournament days or something. It's like, he got a Zergling, let's go. This Reaper, we saw the Reaper of Optimus be excellent against Neep. He is committing pretty deep. Forcing 2 drones to morph into Spore Crawlers is quite nice. And now the fact that that Zergling speed was a little bit later than it should have been, it's actually perhaps a little bit frustrating because you want to deal with this Reaper as quick as possible, but obviously Optimus can't know that.
Yeah, Jim Rising, like usually you try and sneak a drone out, even like really early sometimes, but certainly around now you'd expect to see the third base be attempted, but if they get to creep tumor as well, oh, he had another grenade.
Yeah, he could still throw the grenade. I think he kind of knows where it is. There's a good chance that he's going to try, but against the 2 queens, you obviously have to be a little bit careful. The Reaper is going to go try to land the grenade, but the queens will deny access for now.
It gets questionable too because the grenade just doesn't have the damage it used to, so like even regen kicking in might not be worth it. But it's going to be Cloaked Banshee with the Hellions coming forth here. So now the real question is it going to be a Bio or Mech? A Roach Warren slapped down as the third, comes down for Jim Rising too. Optimus does want to see that, but he's got units patrolling the ramp at least.
Well, he's doing exactly what you said, Hellion Banshee, and I think it's a very good call, a very safe call on this map. The Hellions could potentially maybe roast a couple of these Zerglings as they're a little off creep, but the queens are there to save the day as well. Optimus would love to potentially snipe that drone for a little bit longer and prevent the hatchery from going up, but he's not going to be able to do that. But he will still be able to test the waters and at least keep a very good eye on everything that Jim Rising is doing.
Yeah, it can be tricky getting these Hellions to do pressure like this, because what if they did send like 15 Lings to the other side of the map when you don't have a wall off? But now with the command center fully completing it with the supply depot, he doesn't have to worry. He can focus entirely on microing, and even though there's a Roach Worm put down, the Roaches are a little bit late to the party. Queens not able to kill these Hellions fast enough. The drones have to be pulled away. He's pulling them all right so far, but 4 Hellions still live.
Yeah, the Hellions is still alive. Good block though with those drones, but all the drones are clumped up there on the right side. They get a couple decent hits off. 1 Hellion is still alive. It's 5 drones, but that was quite a few Hellions. I think it wasn't the worst for Jim Rising. I honestly think that didn't go as bad as it could have gone.
Yeah, no, it's exactly like the best way to put it. It's not the worst for either player, really. As we do have Optimus continue to make Hellions, I think he's going to go in a mech. But this Banshee provides another problem with the transferring drones. He has Spore Crawlers, but not any detection. As he did get into the main of Scout, no lair. Now it sees this at the natural, knows he has a long time before there's mobile detection.
Yeah, I think like what Jim Rising perhaps hurted him even more than losing the 5 drones is the amount of mining time that they lost there. In this phase in the game, when you only have 2 mineral lines going for yourself, not being able to use one for like a solid 30-40 seconds almost, that obviously hurts quite a bit. He's gonna end up losing a few more drones here, but overall still a pretty even game, because we also can pretend that 6 Hellions is nothing. That was still a reasonable investment by Optimus, and with 6 Hellions you would technically like to do a little more than just get 5 drones.
Yes, you definitely do, but when you're going into mech, I think it's the real scary part is if you don't produce them and you're swapping over to barracks and then they flood you with Lings. Like that's when you're like, okay, I messed up. But if you're going mech and you continue to make Hellions, he even got the scout on the Roaches and like really got a good scout on whether it was like a Nidus Worm or like more Roaches popping out, so he knew how safe he was playing. Like he's still going to be the one providing the aggression, controlling the flow of the game. We do have tanks first and foremost. Might go into some Thor-based harassment later on in the game. Can only afford so much right now. Now taking his third, and Jim Rising. I'm afraid that Jim Rising's already not fallen behind necessarily, but he's not going to be doing anything to pressure Optimus here.
And it's going to be hard, of course, because this is one of those maps where a couple of tanks will shut down almost any opportunity for Roaches to be very, very aggressive. They have to go up ramps. I mean, even like a tank that could still protect the natural can also help out defending your third base a little bit. So the longer this goes on, the rougher it will become, and more likely Optimus is going to be able to head towards his dream army, which is going to be a very, very powerful army. And we all know that the real disability of mech in a way is that it's not very mobile, as more Hellions will will just drive by. Tried to get a few more kills, but I must say Jim Rising up to that point did a really good job in using the drones as a block. Now Hellions coming in from the right side too.
Yeah, that was a very good split from Optimus to really just optimize, there you go, the Hellion damage. So 10 drones do go down. Again, not the worst trade. If Jim Rising was already up to 70 drones, and I'm like, not so bad. You know, Hellions died for that, and his creep spread was out of control a little bit more, but it's not either of those things, so I think Optimus still is appreciative of what he got.
Yeah, now I really like it for Optimus, because he created the work elite for himself, and once again, he's heading towards that very scary army. And one of the ways you can normally sort of deal with as a Zerg is just to not really fight it straight up, as these Banshees are non-stop. The RS so far has been relentless by Optimus, but like, how are you going to outmaneuver this mech army on a map that's as small as a Biogenesis? I just don't see many ways to avoid running into tanks and Tors, and that's not what you want to do with Roaches.
Yeah, there's actually not going to be an option. I mean, Jim Rising's kind of at that point where he has to either hope that he gets to Vipers and there's a big clump up opportunity, or, you know, the same mistake that Thermal made is made by Optimus, where he maybe doesn't see a gigantic army moving on the right side of the map as opposed to the left side. Like, that's, I feel, is only two options. So now we do have the Infestation Pit on the way. Need to think about that higher tech, as Optimus is just starting to kind of explode here. He's obviously not going to die to any type of Roach push right now. Even the Banshee's still living, is doing some excellent scouting.
They've been doing phenomenal work for Optimus. I mean, they got a handful of drones, and they're getting a couple of Hydras. He's still pushing creep back in the middle of the map as well. And this will allow Optimus to go for that good old Tor drop. He's going to find an Overlord, or perhaps a few more even in the middle of the map. The Banshee's kind of giving the heads up as well for where those Overlords are. And obviously these Tors can prevent Jim Rising from going up to 4 bases. And you know, as a 3-base Zerg against this very scary mech army that's becoming more and more intimidating with every second that goes by, I'm not really feeling it for Jim Rising.
No, I'm definitely not, because his hive is so late. The Invitation Pit was not as early as you would want if it was a perfect game, but
yeah,
it was done.
He does have the fort, of course, on the left. No! Okay, well, that's a massive break there. So Jim Rising did secure that 4th base, actually in the left side, below his natural, and now getting the snipe on those 2 medevac. I mean, that's a massive pickup for Jim Rising.
That's quite good. It does now come down to just basically the Banshees for that harassment, and these are going to be taken out as well. Oh, that one save. It's actually really nice to have at least one Banshee, even if it's really weak, just patrolling for even the creep spread. And then the Hellions can do the harassment that the Thors are now missing out on. That's exactly what's happening. Blue Flame is done. Jim Rising is not pulling. He pulls into the Hellions, actually, so that's going to be a barbecue of drones right there.
Yeah, this is perhaps the most successful run by of the game. That's kind of what Optimus needed, because he just took a couple of bad losses there. I mean, losing the 2 Tors is very expensive. Even the Banshee just flying into a couple of units. He throws down the scan. This is a very important scan, because he will see that hive tech is more than halfway done. He knows about it, so he feels like, all right, this is my moment. And now I do feel you really miss those Tors, though. I mean, the 13 tanks are amazing, but it's so nice to have those beefy Tors in the mix as well.
Yeah, actually, they really help out take down the Vipers when you're still at a lower Viking count, but he's actually at 6. I thought he was at 4, so that's not even that bad. And he knows that Vipers are going to need time anyway. It's a very short map. As soon as you push, you also can rally very quickly, even though you're a mech player. And we do have a similar situation, too, that Thermal Snoot game where Jim Rising's taking the option to just base straight to go around. He's going to catch a 4th being floated over.
Yeah, that command center is going to go down very quickly. Are there any tanks left behind in the natural? It seems like the answer is yes. A couple of Hellbats too. I love that move by Optimus. That really makes his life a lot easier, because now he's going to be able to take out the 4th base of Jim Rising, and more than just a couple of drones as well.
I think that this was just a little too late for Jim Rising, or just simply not good enough. Like, he does have an almost maxed out army, but there weren't any Vipers, so that when this situation arises, when Optimus has to emergency siege up, there's actually no punishment for it. So I think Jim Rising, unfortunately, is a little too late to his Vipers, a little too late to that max out, and he's going to try and get us around, which isn't a bad idea. It's all through chokes.
Yeah, he just doesn't have the numbers anymore. He lost most of his drones already. The drones were pulled in the natural, but GG is called, and Optimus takes the 1-0 lead for the Netherlands.
Not a bad game at all. Jim Rising just maybe taking too much damage, lost out in the pacing, didn't get to tech as fast as he would have wanted to, or any type of aggression either. So Optimus really got to play his game. We're in the dark. Hello.
It's kind of cool, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't need to see us that well. But he got to play his game. And even though he lost the 2 Thors, that's his one mistake. Yeah. Everything else was fine.
Yep, I love the non-stop harassment with the Hellions. Even though the first drive-by didn't get as much done as we thought it potentially could have, because the Queens were a little bit out of position and the Roaches weren't there yet. The second one got a couple, and then eventually, you know, you got the 11 and he got the 12, and it really felt like he was dictating the pace of the game. Got a little over-eager with the Thors. That was an expensive mistake, but, you know, we mentioned this in the beginning. What?
I don't think that's true.
I don't think that's going to happen. I'd be very surprised if Mianona shows up, says that he has a Mexican passport, somehow made it into the team. But yeah, it's just on Abiogenesis, it's such a small map. If that tank count is there, I mean, it's 30, 40 tanks. I love that Optimus left those 2, 3 tanks behind, because that's really important. If that doesn't happen, it becomes very dicey, because then you don't just lose that 4th CC and maybe have to float over your turret. You basically stuck on no mining anymore, because your main is pretty much dried up at that point. And that's where it can get very messy, but he kept some units behind and, yeah, just, you know, utilized his strength.
That was, yeah, it's kind of what happened with Euthermal Snoot. Euthermal literally packed up everything and went across the map, and then when he realized it was going to be a base trade, he couldn't lift his bases fast enough. So, I mean, there's like a couple of different things that could have happened that Jim Rising, if he got into Vipers, those take advantage of those emergency sieges I was talking about. Like, that's where base trading as a mech player is really difficult to go for. And then, yeah, he also had like a good amount of units kind of off to the right that tried to go into the natural and were denied. If he literally had his entire army plus Vipers, again, pushing in, like that 3rd's dead, the natural's dead, the main is compromised for sure, and it's a bit more of an interesting game, but that was not going to be the case, and unfortunately, Jim Rising going to have to pack up and talk about who's going to come out next.
Tough game for Jim, tough map as well to go up against that style that Optimus used there, and had a couple moments. I mean, it was a close game, it was a game that was tough to call up to perhaps the very ending, and then suddenly you look at that mech army and it unsieges and it moves a little bit and it sieges, and it's like, all right, it's actually firing at your 4th base right now, and that's pretty terrifying. So within 40 seconds, we will know who comes out next for Mexico. Is it going to be Special in a TVT, or will we see another ZVT if Cham decides to come out?
I would really love for Cham to come out, to be honest. I think that he's already like gotten a lot of momentum just in Nation Wars, performing very well, but we didn't have to wait the extra 20 seconds. Well, all right then, it's going to be Special just coming out right off the bat for a TVT.
Juanito. Whew. I mean, this is obviously going to be very exciting now. It would be massive for the Netherlands if Optimus can somehow secure a 2-0 lead here, taking away one of the potential 2 lives that this man has. And we are expecting him to have 2 lives, if he needs it, that is, in this Nation War, because, I mean, Special has been an absolute beast over the last year and a half. He was always that Terran player in the foreign scene that was better than his results. Well, not anymore. I think he's been getting very good results.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe the beginning of 2018 isn't like, you know, I guess the performance that he would want after getting round of 4 for BlizzCon, but that still doesn't take away the fact that, yeah, he got round of 4 at BlizzCon. He still performs very well and still gets certainly high enough, and his performance in Nation Wars is also just a credit to him, and that was a lot with that TVT, and that was just a really awesome game that he was able to play versus Innovation, but now up against Optimus. Can he do it again? So we're going to look at the Netherlands here, so let's take a look at this video.
Like, I know these guys for a very long time. I think I know Mark since
2010 probably, 2011, I don't know. And I know Vincent since 2013 maybe, 2014. Yeah, we just get along very well and the results are there, so that helps with the atmosphere as well, I guess.
Are you hiding special tactics for beating Mexico?
I've been hiding, but it hasn't been needed yet, so got everything planned out already.
Playing for the Netherlands is just like it brings the group a bit closer, you know, like with the Dutch community. But and I already feel like we are already really close to the community. So yeah, for me it's more the team aspect. But you know, playing for the Netherlands also makes me proud when I do well. We speak French perfectly.
I'm fluent in French.
Je parle parfaitement français.
So who wants to try the camembert?
Vincent.
Absolutely. It's 2 days, man. We still have one more day.
No, we have stuff prepared. We're just saying that even if we wouldn't have stuff prepared, we would still win. That's how good we are.
Honestly, I think it's going to be a great match. Like, I think we really came ready to fight. They came ready to fight, and I think both of us are ready, and we're going to show good games.
Do you like Mexican food?
Yes.
We devour it. Burritos.
Taco. Tortilla.
Can you taunt Mexico?
Era penal.
It was a penalty.
It was a penalty in Spanish. In the 2010 World Cup, we played in the quarterfinals against Mexico, and in one of the final minutes we got a penalty, which is a bit debatable, but for us obviously it was a penalty, so we're quite happy about it. So I'm sure that's taunting enough.
Hey Mexico, era penal.
Oh, what a fun little video about their time in Paris. All of yesterday, every one of these teams went out and had some fun. You guys tasted some local cuisine, and I look forward to these videos.
Gotta school those nerds a little bit though. That was 2014, guys. 2014, we played against Mexico. 2010, we didn't need any penalties. We were the best. If only Robert would have scored against Spain, we would have been world champions. But that doesn't matter. That's a different ball game, literally.
Yeah, there's actually there's not that many balls in StarCraft 2.
No, I actually have a funny history about that as well, because I was watching that game in Las Vegas, and there were actually a lot of Mexican football fans, and I was the only one who was cheering for the Netherlands. So when they gave that penalty, I was like, yeah, I couldn't contain my my hype, and then everyone in that room just looked at me, and I was together with Mr. Bitter back then, and he's like, mate, like, don't do that. I don't think they like you very much. I was like, it's fine. All right, guys, super excited to see this TVT. As Mexico, as Juanito is using some tape for his mouse pad, maybe?
I guess to hold down his mouse pad. I'm also interested in what this is for, so I'm glad we're getting a zoom up on it.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's what it is. Cool.
I have never thought about it. Maybe it's slippery at the bottom, but he doesn't want to change. You know how pro gamers are very, very picky. Like some people, let's say you're using whatever mouse X, right? And mouse X at one point starts getting a little bit old, and then you can buy the exact same mouse, which would be mouse X again, but then people are like, no, I still prefer the old one, because then there's like slightly more traction, you know, it's like worn in, it's on your mouse pad as well.
Yeah.
So even if your mouse pad would become too slippery at the bottom, some people are like, why don't you just get a new one? It's like, no, it feels...
You don't understand.
It feels different, okay?
Yeah, for me, I always, I liked using, you know, mouse X, whatever it was, right? But then they discontinued the mice, so... I have to choose something else, and it's always a bit disappointing. It was very different, but yeah, some people very particular, and I guess isn't a fan too much of that mouse pad, is fixing things up.
What I love is that a lot of people right now are using the same mouse as Cero. I think Cero was the very first to use, I think he's using a Logitech mouse. I don't know the exact number, but obviously his team is sponsored, I think, by Logitech. So he started using it, and because Cero is crushing, now CS events, I see more and more people using the Warcraft 3 days, there was like Sky was one of the absolute best players in the world, and I think he was one of the very first to use the Razer Crate. They don't really make it anymore, maybe they started making it again. Had a little orange light, and it was called the RTS mouse because it had nothing other than 2 buttons and a scrolling wheel. And everyone's like, well, if Sky is using it, then it must be very good. So we all got it, and even though some people had very big hands, it was kind of a tiny mouse, it's like, you know, it doesn't really work, but he's using it, so we may as well, yeah.
Yeah, it goes back to when Cyril was performing very well, and someone asked him, you know, what mouse bungee do you use? Like, it's that important, guys.
It's funny. What chair do you use? Where's your table, mate? What's the brand of your mouse bungee? It's got to copy that ideal setup.
Yeah, it's very particular. But all right, so granted, you know, let's assume that everything works out well for their setup. This TVT is going to be really tough for Optimus. I mean, Special, his performance against Innovation, just in general, his Terran, I think, has always been very good against Terran. It's going to be an uphill battle, which I guess Optimus is a little bit warmed up, but like TVT is like a truly different beast. It is such a weird meta potential. Basically, right now, it doesn't always play into those Cyclones, but it's always a threat, so you gotta like take consideration. It's gonna be, in my opinion, a funky game, but I would love to know what the map was, of course, to really determine it.
It's either Acid Plant or, I'm thinking right now, like I know it's between two maps in my mind. Okay. It's either Acid Plant, it's not Backwater, it's not Neon Violet. It could maybe be Eastwatch as well. There is a small chance that it's Eastwatch. So it's either, I think Acid Plant is next, so this could very well be Eastwatch. I don't know, I do think that this is the one matchup that Optimus has probably been focusing on the most over the last 2 weeks. Like, of course, this team has two Zergs, but I think that he feels like Harstem, we've seen Harstem's Protoss with Zerg. Harstem is so damn good in that matchup that if Optimus can somehow steal a map here of Special, that would be massive, and then let's say you could move on into the finals, there is a good chance that you face Korea in that finals, which also has two Terrans. So if I was Optimus over the last few weeks, obviously, you always practice all around and you still play tournaments and you do your best in all three matchups. If there is one matchup that I would have focused extra much on, it would have been TVT.
That's a good point. And we did get confirmation that it is Eastwatch coming up next, so that is a bit of an interesting map. Of course, it's that gold base, but it's not so much that as much is the amount of pathways on that map. Also a big determining factor in TVT is, does it have a ramp leading up to its natural, which of course this one does, but we are getting prepared to go into the game. As you can see, a brief overview of Eastwatch. No stats for TVT. I think it's 50%. It's a good guess.
Never know. I mean, what happens if there was a draw? I guess that's still 50.
I think that's still 50%. Is that
they both win or they both lose.
That helps even more.
Or it just becomes 48% across the board and 2% draw.
Does it though?
You never know. I'm excited for this one. It is, of course, a very big map. It is the largest map we currently have in the StarCraft 2 map pool, and that does allow, in general, for longer games. And obviously, if you feel like you are the superior player, you want to play longer games, especially in a matchup that can be as multitasking intense as TVT.
Yeah, it's a very good point. Yes, we are getting ready to go into the game, and I think that it's actually very important to talk about how many options are available on this map, but we're going to have to kind of wait to see what openers they go for. I think that the game has started, and there we go. It's game number 2 of this best of 7 for the first Nation Wars of the day. In the top right, as the Red Terran, he is Special.
And in the left bottom side of Eastwatch, we're looking at the main base of the man that gave his country a 1-0 lead. It's Optimus.
A little bit of momentum going for this guy, which is nice, but TVT is going to be very difficult, especially against Special, who we do have already maybe a difference here, one base versus an expand, I believe, for Special. Oh. Or just an SCV Scout, actually. Yeah, just an SCV Scout. So, but for Special, I always feel like he has been kind of the closest foreigner to Koreans for a long time. Like, literally, he was friends with them. He was involved back in Pro League way back when, and his style has always tried to replicate them. So that even holds to TVT. And I feel like Koreans, they either go full-on mech, like I guess Gumio or something like that, right? Or they do go into the drop style, like actual bio drops, the old-fashioned TVT that everyone loves to see. My point is, not so much into the Cyclone shenanigans, which I don't know if Optimus is a fan of or not, but it is different amongst the European server.
Yeah, I think Optimus is comfortable with multiple playstyles in this matchup. I heard him theory crafting a little bit this morning with Utermo. Of course, I think that helps him a little bit as well to have, you know, arguably the best Terran player in Europe on your team and talk with him and ask for some advice, ask for feedback on what your potential builds are, because obviously Utermo is someone that's very familiar with Special, because those are kind of the two Terrans that are fighting for, you know, who is the best foreign Terran at this moment. Yeah. Now, most people will always say that's Special, of course, because of the results he's had. But you know, Yutomo also spent some time in Korea, did absolutely fantastic on the Korean ladder, and is truly, I think, a little bit better than a lot of people would rate him at the moment, just because he hasn't really been able to show it yet. He had a chance at WESG, but he was in a tough group with two Protoses, Classic and Neep. But just to give you an idea, like, he did push Classic to all 5 games. I mean, how many foreign Terrans are there out there that will take 2 maps of Classic in this matchup?
Yeah, exactly. And then, you know, of course, they had a TVT at IEM against Innovation. That was one of the, I guess, the starting moments of the whole question about Innovation's form, but that's for a later match. You'd have the Reapers tackle each other, and Optimus takes a substantial lead, a full Reaper alive, and headed towards the other side of the map. A single Marine. There's going to be 2 Marines, actually, so it's not going to do much damage, but that's still a win in the beginning.
That's going to allow him to scout a little bit here as well and keep an eye on what is happening on the other side of the map. I think there are very few Terrans out there that have made more Reapers in their life than Optimus. Optimus was one of the guys, just like Kalazur and Yutomo, that kept on making Reapers in the foreign scene. They truly followed those footsteps of Beyond back then, as he's also one of those guys that wouldn't stop. It wouldn't be like a 3 Rex Reaper opening. Nope, we're going to go 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 Rex Reaper. Of course, that doesn't happen anymore in the current meta ever since the Reaper got nerfed. But when it comes to that Reaper control, I think Optimus is up there with the best.
Yeah. He does lose the Reaper here, which is unfortunate, but it's kind of like, it had limited options anyways. They're both walled off the other Reaper hop-up spot. It's really cool if you have like even a single Reaper and you do a drop and they get into both locations, main and natural, but that was, I guess, as I said, like limited opportunity for that. So, oh well, now we go into Optimus's drop. How much can he really do here? Ideally, it just survives forever. It gets maybe 2 SCVs, but every 20 seconds or something like that.
Special's already throwing up that third command center as well, and he's starting to produce his Raven, so it's all a very defensive setup here from Special. Let's see if this drop can get something done, but with 2 Cyclones there, they will be able to start firing at this matter of fact almost immediately. So far it's tough, but obviously Optimus is trying to set up some multi-prong.
Yeah, you know, Special playing very safe with the bunker means that that kind of surprise, like medevac drop at the main, but then 2 Cyclone busts at the front just isn't really possible, although he's actually going to bring everything forward. I think it's too dangerous. It's kind of too late to really make a Cyclone bust work, so.
I mean, this is still a moment where I feel there is some potential, right? If you just drop everything one by one into the main base, it's going to be 3 Cyclones here. Could potentially start microing a little bit with these Cyclones, and
yeah, I think it's really important that he doesn't lose the medevac at all. You know, the scan comes down, it's going to be really close, he gets it! That is really good, because I was talking about how the ideal world is like, okay, the very ideal world, I suppose, just to have more Cyclones and medevac to micro them so you just win the game. Sure, that's true. But really what you expect is just to be able to roam around and hit their natural when they're in the main or vice versa and get a couple SCVs, because you do have that evacuation that, of course, Special does not. But then in losing the medevac, just, it cuts Optimus's aggression out entirely. He was already behind in that third, and Special even ahead by 10 workers. Wow.
I wanted to ask you, wouldn't it make sense for Optimus to build his third CC on location, considering the fact that you open up a lot less economical? That is one way to sort of get back into it a little bit.
Yeah, I think that actually would have been a very smart idea, because I'm not sure he got the confirmation on the Raven, but he knew where the Cyclones were, obviously. So there's like very few units that Special could have done, even if he did have a medevac to drop with. So that would have been a bit of a cool comeback maneuver. Certainly does help, especially if you put it on maybe the gold. He's trying to really ramp up the aggression. But they both went for 3 CCs. They're both going for that stem, going into bio, and they're going to be up against a lot of aggression soon enough. Like, both of them are going to have options to get into medevacs, so they're both sticking around those Ravens a little while longer. Special with 2 now has a lot of potential to even bust once he's ready to go.
This does feel like a very scary scenario for Optimus, though, because if everything just goes the way things normally go from this point, then Special is going to be able to create a pretty significant army advantage for himself, because his infrastructure was going to be a little bit faster, and of course he has an 8 or 9 worker lead. His third base is already on location, up and running at this point. He also has the Raven advantage, so he's going to have way more energy on them, of course, and he has an extra Raven as well. This is going to be very tough. Optimus is going to somehow need to get something going for himself, but it's tough because if you even start thinking about being aggressive again, if that gets shut down, you just have absolutely nothing at home.
Yeah.
But if you just sit back, then Special's army is going to be a lot bigger because he opened up a lot more economically than he did. So this is definitely a tough scenario for Optimus to face, and I'm curious to see what his plan is to somehow, you know, get even again.
This is where the cool factor of the matchup goes, because they're both playing bio, and the combination of the map goes as well. Because even though you might protect yourself against drops, just being surprised by an army could certainly happen. If they know you're moving out, siege up their tanks, and fire across the walls when you're not paying attention, that could instantly take away 20 army supply. But the anti-army missiles come down. Very nice hit there, and Special already kind of stopping this push in its tracks. His army supply is quite even. His upgrades are already done. Stims evenly timed.
Don't forget about the other Raven that's still alive. You could potentially see a couple of interference matrix being dropped as well. Now 2 medevacs are being sent to the top side of the map, which makes this push almost a small fake push. There is 1 Marine on the lookout. Ooh. 2 Marines on the lookout. If he goes to the right now, that would be... I think he caught a glimpse of it.
I think he did.
Yeah, of the left one. He should have caught a small glimpse of it. We'll see, because he's looking for the remaining army now. So I think he knows that, all right, if you have 60 Marines heading towards my main, there is nothing in position here.
Yeah,
so maybe he didn't catch the glimpse.
I don't think he did. I think he was just entirely focused on maybe even trying to get a surround on this army over here, but he doesn't find the army, and he gets dropped in the main. This is Optimus' way to get back in the game. Absolutely already killing 12, 13, 14, 15 SCVs, and still has the option to get out of here, but is choosing actually Tango.
Yeah, you probably don't want to lose all of your Marines. He ends up losing a couple of them. 17 SCVs went down, but don't forget about this army from Special that was heading towards the other side of the map. Where did that Raven go, Special? I'm kind of curious about that, as we're starting to start some sort of a base rate scenario here, as these anti-armor missiles do more than just reduce the armor, as a couple of Marines just got obliterated.
I don't think Optimus has enough army supply to truly take on a base trade, and this army gets absolutely dominated by what's ever left for Special. Not a great sign as the natural that goes down. His third will go down too. Optimus, he was in a comeback situation, and if maybe he had seen Special's army positioning, this game would still be going on with that comeback of the SCVs in the main. But Eastwatch, man, like, it's so hard to see both of their armies. I don't think Special realized Optimus is still on the map either. Just took advantage of what he thought might be an opportunity.
Yeah, Optimus still has more SCVs, but he needs to clean up this army. He's coming in from multiple angles, but it's not going to be enough. GG. Special will tie up the score as it's 1-2 and we're getting ready for game 3.
Yeah. Not unexpected. Special, just very good Terran player, and his TVT is rivaling all of the Korean Terrans, so that's always a good sign. But Optimus, you know, he put up a good fight. He almost had that just typical way to come back in TVT, that drop combined with the tank line back at home, and the game goes on, and he's actually even things up again in the economy. But having his army out on the map, he was the one trying to control the game. It turned on him.
I still liked it because he had to make something happen. This was one of those games where if he would just sit back, then Special would push with a bigger army. Obviously 2 Ravens in the mix as well. You drop a couple interference matrix. Defensive tanks are not going to be enough, and he would have just rolled over and died. He tried to come back with that drop. I love how he moved out with first almost everything, pretending like, oh, this is my attack, and, you know, kind of used it as a little distraction maneuver to set up for the drop in the main. It worked out, but in the end, Special was, you know, his crisis management on point. He's like, okay, I'm taking damage, but that also means that you've got very little at home. I'm counterattacking with my big army. I love that he left the Ravens at home as well, because in his natural he lost nothing after those anti-armor missiles went down. So
yeah,
good game by Special.
It was a little hard to see, but I think, you know, Optimus, the reason his army wasn't back at home wasn't just because he thought he's going to, you know, be able to do something with the other army as well as the drop to the main. He was also, you know, he's baiting it with the Sensor Tower. Sensor Tower was at the 3rd. That's where his army was patrolling around, and Special might have seen that and been like, okay, I know what I can do. But regardless if it was like really just like 10 steps ahead, you know, 40 chests or anything, Special got the better trade there and is able to take the 1-1 even score for Mexico.
Would you say there was some high IQ Terran gaming there, Tara?
A little bit. A little bit. I mean, it was more of a straightforward game in the beginning. Special just got a lead by taking care of the aggression, but this scenario, I think Special just kind of prepared for a little bit better, and his macro is already helping him so much anyways. It would have always been difficult for Optimus to really win this.
I wonder if, like, what would have happened if the tanks do siege up and the Marines were still in the front of it, and maybe those tanks get a few more good shots off. And this was, of course, the final moments of the game. Optimus knew that he had to make something happen. He had to break that contain, but he was just losing a little too much. Now I truly wonder who is going to be the next player that will come out for Le Pays-Bas as they say here, the Netherlands. It's going to be an acid plant. Okay, okay.
It's very quick.
Well, normally there's a countdown, guys. This time there was no countdown. Would you have guessed Euthermal?
I was hoping it was Euthermal. Like,
okay.
I want to see a TVT between these guys, but I would have been surprised if it was Harsum either. Try and take out the... Try and take out Special with maybe a race he doesn't appreciate so much. But TVT is still, I think, something Special is always going to find himself comfortable in. And even though it's Euthermal, and that's going to be, I hope, one of the best TVTs.
I love it. In the foreign scene, I honestly feel that this is as good as TVT is most likely going to get. I think in the eyes of a lot of European pro gamers and, of course, fans as well, Euthermal is the best European Terran. Special, of course, is the best Terran in North America. And by many considered to be the best Terran outside of South Korea. I mean, this is it. Like, this is the clashes that you live for as a StarCraft fan, I feel like, where Special has that throne, but Euthermal has been really making some solid improvements when he stayed over in Korea as well.
Yeah.
I think this is hopefully going to be a very, very cool match.
It's also, yeah, we're actually going to be catching a brief glimpse of the Mexican team and their time in Paris. Check it out.
We are not scared of the Netherlands Nilo. However, we have the skills, we have the practice, and we have what it takes to take them down. So it will all come down to teamwork, concentration, and skill-wise.
I don't think we feel pressure about representing Mexico. I think we are pretty happy with that people that support us because it's not just Mexico. I think Latin America is supporting us right now.
So it's just, the best thing is just to hit the 11?
Yes.
Not really, no. I don't get pressure. No pressure.
Concerning the Dutch lineup, is there a player that scares you? Do you think there's a few players that will cause trouble to Mexico?
I think they're all good, but not really scare you, you know? No one really scares me anymore. It's just, they're all good, so we have to prepare for them. No, I wouldn't use the word scare. Everyone has weaknesses, yes. I have weaknesses, he has weaknesses. Everyone has weaknesses.
What are your weaknesses?
Secret.
Esperamos llegar a la final y por supuesto llevarnos el campeonato, pero bueno, primero pensar en Holanda y ya luego pensaremos en Finlandia o en Corea. Muchas gracias por seguirnos apoyando y por mantener viva la escena de StarCraft de Latinoamérica, por supuesto. Y aquí les cuido a Jiren, no se preocupen.
Nuevamente gracias por apoyarnos. Yo personalmente leo todos los comentarios, les trato de dar like, a veces los contesto, pero acuérdense, la cita es el 22 y vamos a dar lo mejor de nosotros. Gracias.
Okay, Roti, you are one of the best casters on StarCraft 2, but sorry, bro, your country is gonna lose.
Welcome back, everyone. Hope you enjoyed that video. I loved the fusion dance, and I also loved the trash talk. I'm Zombergup, now here casting with Letod.
Yeah, happy to be there finally, getting to do some Nation Wars. And I'm kind of sad actually, Roddy, you know, I'm not sure if he heard these, but I would love to get his reaction. I kind of know and I can anticipate what it would have been, but It's all in good fun, though. Like, these guys, they're all friends and all, but at the end of the day, only one of them can advance on to the grand finals.
Yep.
And I feel like we're really starting to get down to business now at this stage as well, where, you know, Jim Rising now and Optimus are both out of the way, and now it's really about the two best players of each team going down against one another.
Yeah, that's the truth. Not to disparage them at all. Like, they played some fantastic games, but I think everyone had their minds on Euthermal for Netherlands and then Special for Mexico, but Harsum and Cham both showing for their teams as well. But now we get what everyone would argue to be the ace match. If they both had revived, I would not be surprised it was once again this TVT, but I'm very excited they're going to have it for game number 3. CU actually comes out ahead as it is currently tied up 1-1, and this is just going to, I hope, to be a blast. I mean, the Specials games versus Innovation, those TVTs were so fun to watch, and Euthermal might just be on the very, very, very similar skill level, if not the exact same. So it should be a lot of fun, a lot of drops, a lot of pressure, just back and forth action.
If we get there, all right, yeah, because sometimes, like,
I guess so, right?
Sometimes there is one single drop and
just
then
like,
that's it. But,
yeah, Doom drop or 2 racks, and I'm like, oh, okay, that happened too. Like,
to be honest, every one of Special games have been amazing in my opinion. Even when he played, you know, against Sue and all that, like he's just been playing incredible. I think he's the only player in the top 10 of players that are with the best stats, or like with the most map wins, to be undefeated. I think he's 8-0 so far this Nation Wars after the last map that he just played.
Wow, yeah, that's a very good point. Actually, Euthermal, I kind of wanted to touch on this before we got to the video, but didn't quite have time. Euthermal has not been the ace as people expect him to be. So even though a lot of people still consider him as the best player for the Netherlands, Harsum has been gaining all the fame. So now it's time for Euthermal to shine as he expected to against Special in a fantastic, hopefully very, very close TVT on acid plants.
He joked around earlier before we went live that he might go up against Poppy, so here it is.
Yeah, here it is. Very excited for this one, guys. Game number 3 in the top left for Mexico. It is Special. In the bottom right, for the Netherlands, he is Euthermal.
So TVT, your domain, right?
I love TVT. I know a lot of people like to joke about the Cyclone Wars, and I think they're constantly a threat. You have to consider them. It's not ever right to say, even though it ended up being Stim versus Stim like last game, that Cyclones weren't a threat. No, they absolutely were, but obviously I think a lot of players, one, don't prefer Cyclones. They actually are a little boring sometimes, honestly, to play with. And also, considering what these guys are known for, both Special and Euthermal, the amount of like APM they have, how much multitasking goes on, like they're not both necessarily tied to mech or bio, but they're just always all over the map. Of course, Cyclones aren't really the game they would want to play.
And Acid Plant, definitely a mechable map, I would say. Special, actually, in his first map that he played against Innovation, he had some very, very solid mech, I thought, that he played, or might have been MMA.
It was a Special played mech on this map against Innovation, and he almost got broken like multiple times, doing so much damage. Oh, I kind of forgot about that.
He held on strong.
Yeah.
But like, if I look at the map now and like, it's just, you know, I'm starting to picture, you know, what they might do, I feel like that's my gut feeling. Special might go for mech and Euthermal bio, and then it will be like the traditional clash, you know, of styles. But Euthermal is very capable of going mech himself. That's the thing.
I think Euthermal has been, actually maybe even both of these guys, but definitely Euthermal for me. Like, he was more of a bio player for so long in both the matchups, so you can go either one, TVZ and TVT. But everyone at some point in their career, and everyone just in some point in the meta of StarCraft 2 has to embrace mech, and he's done so in a very good way. But we do have both players expanding. We also have Special throwing down that proxy starport. There's Euthermal, I guess, still going to put his at home. If he even gets one, he might exchange the factory. Okay, no, he's going to do that, but he's not actually going to go for 2 Cyclones. He's still going to get his own starport.
And I guess you could say that about every top players out there, but like their builds are always very refined. But I feel like with Special, it's even more so. He's one of those guys that's known to talk regularly with TY, use some of his builds, and it seems like he's always on point and always well kept up with the meta in terms of exactly what he should go for to counter what opponents, and he does very well with it. I have to say, Special has impressed me so much so far in this tournament. Like I said, he's undefeated. He out-killed South Korea. On paper, Mexico should be the favorite here to take out the Netherlands, I think, just with that alone.
It's very promising, especially when, again, you could argue Thermal's the ace player, but Harsum's really that guy where even if Thermal falls here, which is entirely possible, Harsum's going to be a really hard match for Special as the blast player for Netherlands. We did have a couple of micro battles go down. Thermal took the better end, I guess, of the Reapers, but 3 Hellions to 2 still works out better for the Hellions. And this is just scuffles. This is just distraction. Special is distracting Thermal. He doesn't actually plan on entering through the natural. He's more focused on getting something done with that proxy starport, which hopefully Thermal, well, he definitely doesn't know anything about it, but hopefully he's also not like just blind preparing for it either.
Yeah, this is going to get there so early, and it feels like Thermal's just not ready for this at all. I mean, he's going for a Banshee that doesn't counter a Liberator.
No, it does not. He really has not a lot to deal with this. He didn't get a Cyclone. He said for the safety Banshee, or Bunker, sorry, and now he has Marines, but obviously they take a long time to respond, so Liberator at least is denying a ton of mining.
And Special behind this, he's getting a Medivac, so he might want to drop some of his own units. I'm guessing Cyclones that he's getting right now across the map in a moment to do some more damage with those as well. Thermal, he invested a lot in those Cloak Banshees, so it's... Can he equalize the damage somehow? Like, so far, to be honest, he hasn't lost that many SCVs, but I feel like that number might keep on going up in a second, especially with those Hellions being dropped inside of his main base. The barbecue is going to begin. There is a tank very nicely placed there, but more SCVs are going to die before that gets pushed back.
I think everyone cheering for Thermal had a bit of a heart attack. Those Hellions just weren't seen at all. But Special, maybe having difficulty. No, he actually has a scan already ready to go. Pre-scanning to take care of that cloak as well. And when else said and done, Thermal still takes the worst end of that trade, but not by as much as I thought he would.
So clean by Special, like the army movement, the cleanup with the scan and everything. And now he's got the 3rd command center about to finish. We have additional barracks starting now for Thermal, so definitely going for the bio that we talked about before.
And yeah, to your credit, I think you called it correct, right? Mech versus Bio. This is something, it's serious deja vu of Special's game versus Innovation, because it was him going Mech versus Innovation's Bio, and it started off with Special doing so much harassment, yet dealing with any harassment towards him very, very well. But Thermal now being a little more careful, just getting what he can, so 3 SCVs, this will eventually add up.
I thought he was going to scan out the top left against the Banshee, even though like he might have gotten away. It's like, you know, the good old when a Reaper would be dropped, or would go into my main base, and I knew that overcharge was wrong, but I still would use it back then. But no, Special not going to go for that. Drops 2 Cyclones across the map, still being quite aggressive with this. He's delaying the 3rd command center of Thermal quite nicely, but Thermal finds damage on the other side of the map with the 1 Banshee, and double armoring on the way for Special. And what really impressed me when he went Mech before against South Korea on this map is how solid he was defensively. He did everything perfect. The split on his units, he was just kind of unbreakable. Like you mentioned, he was close to being broken a few times, but I mean, he was playing against South Korea after all, right? And like Sensor Tower was being added on time. Everything was very crisp. I feel like if he does the same thing there with the early lead that he got, he's going to be able to do very well. So it's for Thermal to make something happen, I think, from there.
Yeah, and Thermal certainly can. Now that, you know, he's the one with Bio, he's going to be the one that takes control over the map eventually here. But he has fallen a bit behind. The SCV has always been behind, whether it's by 2 or 4. Always been the case. And
these 2 Hellions. Beautiful micro.
Yeah, Cyclone just taking whatever they can, and because they're so beefy, once Stim finishes, even a small amount of Marines suddenly is a little bit more difficult, but currently just taking whatever he can. Special dominating control of the game while macroing very well behind it.
Yeah, and with the 1-1 on the way, like, whenever you see a Mech player starting his upgrades this early and doing so well, it's just so hard for somebody that plays Bio to somehow come back. Usually it would take something like a big drop surprising the opponent, or maybe a big mistake, but out of Special, you can't really expect him, you know, to move across the map with not enough units, get get his army fully surrounded and lose everything. That's just not going to happen, especially with how patient he showed he can be. As I said, at too many backs almost flew into a bunch of Marines, but Special, he's actually being very stubborn with this.
Yeah, that wasn't actually worth, well, maybe he's going to trade out at the very least, and he could even save 2 Cyclones in the medevac still, so only losing 1 is actually would not be bad at all, and he's going to take out a couple, like 1 reactor, get out with 2. Okay. He almost lost both medevacs, and that would not have been worth it, but that was actually just fine. And this is really all about just keeping tabs on Euthermal anyways, as he knows there's not a huge drop ready to go. But finding a tank, seriously, gosh, Special is finding all of the weaknesses.
Yeah, he's really stepped up his game, to be honest. Like I said, in a lot of his games, I thought he was extremely impressive, and it's no different here. Yet again, the Sensor Tower going to go down on the 3rd base. He's already got a good mix of tanks to Hellions ratio. I think he was making Vikings as well. Make sure he can kind of work on his air control. And Euthermal, it feels Euthermal is defending 24/7 and he's struggling on his side of the map. He's finally moving across the map with some of his own small force, but Special just looks so sound defensively on the other side of the map with everything that he's got as well.
Yeah, the scan goes down. Euthermal, I think, is realizing just like it's a little bit of a... It's past the point where his bio is really going to do a whole lot. If Special was losing medevac after medevac doing this harassment, it's a very different story. He barely has any army back at home, but this has been like really the same medevac joined up once by another one, and that's it. And it's gotten so much. It's not just about the actual units he's gotten. He's also forced the bio player to be the one to build the missile turrets. Like, that's not supposed to be the case. So Special just really showing dominance in the matchup. And while supplies look even, we all should know by now it's not great for the bio when that happens.
Yeah. And Special, actually, he's going for Blue Flame. Like I said, he's still being very patient. Like, he's starting his +2 attack upgrade for his mech units. But the closer he gets to maxing out, the more he's going to want to fight and try and make something happen. Whereas Euthermal, I think he's fully understood that his complete bio army wasn't going to do it. So he's completely transitioning into more Liberators with advanced ballistics to try and somehow pick off at this mech army from far away with the Liberators and maybe find a weakness in the defense of Special to try and you know, get in there and do some damage.
Unfortunately, that's kind of the problem with the bio players. If they really can't provide that aggression, they're going to have to exchange over to Sky Terran. But finding a little bit of pressure here, getting a cancel on a 4th base is pretty darn decent. Now his 4th is appropriately much faster. But that's going to be a reveal on how much Air Army Special has, and Euthermal knows that he's going to have actually a few rounds before he can take that on. But now it's the question of, does Special realize what's going on? Seeing the fusion core, seeing a second starport, that should be enough information for him to realize, okay, it's no longer about the bio out-positioning me so much as it is about not losing the air war.
He starts with Thor, and actually these aliens chasing quite nicely here onto this army. Special is going to start them moving across the map. He doesn't want to give Euthermal the time to get to a lot of Liberators. So he's going to start sieging. Euthermal very nicely delaying this attack here. He's pushing this back. He knows that Special has to be sieged to properly fight against this army. So he keeps on engaging wherever the tanks that are sieged cannot be attacking. That's very good because like his army is a lot more expandable too. He can replenish that much quicker with a bio.
Needing 5 SCVs. At this point, Euthermal, like on 4 bases, can replace a lot, but also transitioning, it's going to be difficult. But some really nice micro. They take on all of those Hellions, as you said, just stall out the push, make it so it's not going to be the death blow here. And now his air army should be too superior. He has Liberator range, which is something that's very, very important. You usually see that a little bit later, and then the Thors are actually very useful. But if Liberator range is already done, Thors have a really hard time helping out the air battle, and this is something that Special, I don't think, quite realizes. Maybe now I realize it's going to pack up and go home.
Yeah, but not after losing a lot of tanks. Euthermal pushes back Special quite nicely here. He's being sieged, I think, on his base on the bottom left at the same time, though.
A little bit. It's not losing too much. Teams will pull the SCVs. He's actually going to try and continue the momentum. He knows the Liberators were surprised at just in sheer numbers of them. And Special is the one that has to go into emergency mode here, as the army supplies are quite even. He's taking the final stand, or not the final stand, but a pretty good stand against the Liberator Viking army. He does have those upgrades. Euthermal not able to afford literally everything he's been going for. Marauders, Vikings, Liberators, Liberator range. That's expensive. So of course he's fallen behind in upgrades, both in the bio and in the mech.
That fight was insane. That was like 2 cars going towards one another and saying like he's gonna turn first, but neither of them turned and they just kind of crashed into one another. But Special, like he had superior economy the entire game, but now Euthermal's fully caught up. 75 SCVs to 73. He's expanding a little bit quicker with the 5th base, which actually is on location, quite ambitious, down on the bottom left side. Ooh. We see both players starting to scan all over the place and really trying to outdo each other with just kind of small attacks for now here in terms of Special trying to apply some economic damage. Gets 9 SCVs here for his effort.
Pretty good. He's going to maybe get the entire SCV line, which Euthermal can replace, but it's no one's really banking a ton. Like, that is a pretty crucial blow. He is going to just go right into only those mech upgrades, as that's really where the game has gone. Sometimes you transition back to the bio when Special's overcompensated for the air, but it's quite rare for that to happen. What should happen, what happens most of the time anyways, is they go into Ravens. It goes into literally just air army versus air army late game scenario. Euthermal is going to continue providing aggression, look for opportunities, try and deny the 4th base once again. He can use his Liberators on those Vikings. They are pretty clumped up, but his Liberators do go down. Who is winning the Viking war currently? It looks like Euthermal has the better concave, but losing SCVs back at home.
Yeah, Euthermal has been doing a very good job of getting a lot of Vikings to really gain the air control, and because of that, that allows him to completely zone out the army of Special out of his very important 4th base. Euthermal, like, he might have lost a bunch of SCVs, but he's taking a 5th base quicker than Special.
This is also really hard to do. So he's going to try and take this on. Thors, 4 of them are going to actually provide a lot of damage, but I believe they're all in single target, just focusing on taking the Liberators, and that's it. And they do that, so job accomplished. Both took economic losses with the bio behind the planetary, but this is interesting to see. It's really come into form lately, but the Cyclone upgrade's on the way. And Cyclones have to get in range of Liberators before they get out of range. So it's still, like, amongst the best options to take on air is also, it's just air. Like, more air. And Ravens, I suppose, which neither one has really gone into, and I'm surprised. I thought one of them would add on 1 tech lab just for 1 Raven, because anti-air missile is really important.
Yeah, maybe later, I guess. Like, they've been trading units, like...
Yeah.
I don't think anybody has maxed out just yet, actually. Like, before that was going to happen, they started fighting, and they haven't stopped since. Like, it's been a bit of a slugfest. Actually quite equal on resources lost. 18,000 to 17,300.
Considering how this game opened, you would think that Special would have a better just lead here, when really it's not a lead much at all. Maybe a bit in the bank, and that's kind of it. Maybe he's a little later to some of these extra bases, but now Euthermal played a really great game despite not having much pressure to provide early on in the game, and now is kind of taking control of the late game air army. Special has, like, he's building Vikings every now and again, but he's still building so many Thors, and
yeah.
I'm wondering if that's really the best option.
There is a massive contrast in the upgrades now, by the way, because +3 vehicle weapons finish for Special, but +2 only started for infantry weapons for Euthermal. So if Special just kind of assembles a big army and gets into a huge fight, which I think he's looking to do right now, he might be able to do really well against Euthermal's army in the next big fight.
Oh, the Liberators are sieging up. They're a little clumped up, but there's actually a couple of them looking for the clumped up Vikings of Special, but I think he's going to realize that it's less about the Vikings of Special and more about just the mass amount of Thors, which are currently out of range of the Liberators, so they're getting shots off on the Vikings. There we go, now going into range. They unfortunately are going to be choked in by just each other, not taking the best trades here. Special, though, is able to take this battle overall, and he's also dealing economic damage.
Euthermal is so funny because, like, he has so many Vikings and so many Liberators, but his Grand Army was actually really small.
Yeah.
But Special had no way to get around that. Like, he got zoned out of his 4th base once again, so he had to take the fights. Didn't seem that cost effective. I mean, he does get the cleanup, but Euthermal in the meantime now going for that 5th base. He's got less SCVs thanks to those Hellions on the right side frying so many of his mineral line, and now these upgrades are going to finish for Euthermal.
Yeah. Yeah, it was so awkward seeing, like, whenever we see those Thors have to maneuver into each other against Liberators, like, oh, it usually doesn't look very pretty, but it was the better trade because of the ground army also surviving for Special, but not so much for Euthermal. But Euthermal's already on his way back up to getting to an even supply. He dipped down quite hard, actually, because he also took SCV damage, but now back up, still trading out enough that both of them not maxed out, and upgrades finally finishing too, so things look a little bit more even, but constantly maneuvering around the map. Both of them want that expansion lead.
Yeah, it seems like both players have now secured their 5th base and are looking to kind of stabilize from that base.
Gosh.
What is he supposed to do? Like, get an additional planetary, get a bunker? Like,
yeah, maybe
Hellions just keep on coming.
Sensor tower wouldn't be that bad, because I think currently Special's the only one who ever built one.
Yeah.
But even if you have a sensor tower, because you're the one trying to maneuver on the map, but doesn't necessarily mean you're always going to catch those Hellions. Some nice Liberator harassments, gets a couple of SCVs, and once again, we get to see this certain scenario happen so many times. Exact same position, the exact same scenario, Liberators versus Thors, but the Liberator count just isn't as impressive as maybe it could have been in a different situation where they weren't trading out so much. If there's like 15 Liberators against any amount of Thors, I'm pretty sure the Liberators win, but they're always small enough that Special's ground-based anti-air is working.
Yeah, and I think he was doing well enough with the upgrades for that to really be happening, but now that Utomol's completed a bunch of extra upgrades, maybe it's going to get a little bit harder. They're not really... Actually, in Utomol's case, he's not starting additional upgrades. He might, I think, focus on making sure he maxes out first and foremost. Yeah, I mean, he's about to be assaulted here, like Special was going to go for it.
That's always difficult. I don't believe Special has building armor, so maybe that much bio can do it, but running into 3 tanks, the Concave is made at the last second, is going to be trade out with these tanks and then get a couple SCVs at that orbital. Euthermal takes a pretty good engagement here. He at least brings the army back from Special, as he was perhaps a little concerned being pushed up against his own 3rd or 4th or whatever it was, but pulls it back, gets a couple SCVs finally behind that planetary, as yes, I believe building armor and high-sec auto tracking have been pushed off with how many trades have gone down.
It's been a great TVT. They're scanning all over the place now, still looking to try and gain position on one another.
Okay,
it's basically Team Thor against Team Liberators out there.
It's exactly what it is, and usually Team Thor it gets worse and worse as the Liberator count grows. As I said, Liberator count not maybe high enough. Now it is. You can hear even the crowd laughing a bit at how many Liberation zones that is. It's 11 Liberators, and it's going to take quite the army, quite the focus fire as well from Special to actually take every single one of those down. But he's continued Hellion harassment. Might just be the downfall of Euthermal, who is really just struggling to get minerals.
Ooh, Utomo looking to try and take a big engagement here on top of this army from Special, who wasn't siege yet, but he does now eventually.
But there is a problem here, as we do see a lot of Liberators go down. Looks like they are going to be able to take out one of the last Thors. No, the other one to the very, very north.
Move.
He's going to have to unsiege and pull back, losing a couple of tanks for that. The army supply difference is only 20, and there's nothing really to deal with the Liberators anymore. This one Thor, though, is getting so many last shots. Going to take out maybe 3rd, 4th Liberator. Not quite. Special having to pull back. He's lost all of his anti-air. 2 Vikings against 4 Vikings and 4 Liberators. Is Euthermal going to do it right here, right now?
Yeah, Utomo has to do it right here and right now. He lost his base. I mean, he had to fly away with his base on the bottom left. He's down to his last few forces, behind in SCVs, behind in army, on the offensive now. Needs to make something happen right now because he hasn't dealt enough economic damage here to Special, who's just starting to pull ahead and ahead on the numbers. Look at the supplies, Omicron.
It's not looking great for Euthermal. That was looking like such a good push, but there was a couple things that actually went wrong that maybe could have made that a game-winning push. He pushed into the Thors, so his Liberators are literally sieging as they're taking damage. Imagine if that wasn't the case. Imagine if Special pushed into Liberation zones. There's so many more Liberators left over to continue the push. As it was, some nice focus fire from even the leftover Vikings ended up being enough, and Special now taking a dominating supply lead, upgrade lead continuing to go forth here too, and Euthermal, I don't think he's going to be able to do it for the Netherlands.
It's going to be hard here. I mean, after the trades that I've had here as of late, Special just getting the bare end of those big fights.
Oh gosh.
And it just keeps on happening. Like, how many SCVs has he killed this game? It must be like over 100, I feel like, at this point.
with this one, it's got to be over 100. Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God.
With this run by, it finally reaches the 100 marker, getting up to 106 and above. And that's going to be it. Not necessarily with a bang, but with an SCV whimper. That is it for Euthermal. As of right now, he could be the ace, but we have Harsum coming up next for the Netherlands.
A very fast-paced TVT.
Yeah.
Lots of action.
That
always starts with like a few units, you know, killing SCVs here and there, and then all of a sudden they're building bigger armies. They're on 3-4 bases, and then it's just like kind of big armies clashing non-stop. I guess Euthermal had to play quite aggressive. because he was the one playing Bio and Liberator, like, which is maybe harder to scale in the late game, but some of these engagements were maybe a little bit too ambitious against like a lot of siege tanks and the Thors in position as well.
I think you're right about that. Like, there was a couple of points, like when you're first on with just Bio, then yes, you have to try and find engagements and open opportunities, but there was a time where he was even like ahead of base, right? Even if he was losing SCVs, and he was getting to a lot of Liberators, and I feel like maybe if he hadn't taken a couple of those engagements, or really like delved deep into the engagements, that, you know, those that 15 Liberator count happens 3 minutes earlier when he still has an economy and he can still continue pushing.
Or maybe just gone down the rabbit hole and go Ravens.
Yeah,
Ravens.
exactly. Like I actually thought maybe this game could turn into a turtle mode, special Hellion harassing, sure, Euthermal dropping every now and again, but no, Euthermal just kept on being maybe a little too aggressive, and well, I think his composition usually wins out. It just it concentrated just a little too poorly, even against Thors.
These drops were great, I have to say. Like, there was a scary moment when he almost dropped 2 Medivacs into Marines, but even that was avoided, and Special just did so much damage consistently across the map through the entire start.
Yeah.
That was the big fight that Euthermal lost everything almost instantly in.
Yeah, so like there were the two problems I brought up. One, that he pushed into Thors and then had a siege up, but the other problem was that he was clumped up, which I couldn't quite see if any of those Thors were in the splash mode, but when there's that many Liberators clumped up, like one in splash and the rest in single target, and they go down pretty quick.
Yeah.
So I feel like he got so close to finding the better composition, but Special, I mean, maybe he was confident the entire time. Maybe he really believed in the power of Thors, although he did get those Cyclones. We never saw the Cyclones, but he got the upgrade, so I don't know if he was ever
He had
truly
a few,
confident.
but they took forever to kill, like any air. You know, like, you know how it is.
Yeah.
Like, one log's not even enough to finish off some of the units. So
it's true.
Very competitive TVT, I have to say. I was impressed by Euthermal. Like, he's not been necessarily the ace from the Netherlands, and sadly here doesn't get the win against Special. But now it's gonna be the time for the ace himself, and Harstem is gonna have to come out.
Zerg OP.
Yeah, we're gonna go into this video, guys. Check it out.
Rotterdam. Disruptor. Home Cup. Zerg OP. Poffertjes. Rotterdam. Disruptor. Both. Tupac. Ketchup. Blinkstalker. Both. Storm Banelings. Decade of Hearthstone. Classic. Neil David Kim. Play 12 hours. Team Sarah. Robbo. Frank's Kiss.
I hope you guys enjoy some of these funnier videos. Choose a new David Kim over old David Kim. I hope he's not watching, man. Teardrops down his face like I tried, man.
Did you see Gym Risings?
I did not know.
They asked Roddy or Todd, and he picked Roddy.
Oh.
So I tweeted to him, WTF. And it's funny, he even says like, oh, he's gonna unfollow me. So I joked, unfollowed. It's okay, unfollowed.
Oh boy. All right, so we have Harstem versus Special. I thought Euthermal Special was going to be a great game, and it absolutely was. A clash of styles going all the way to the very, very late game, but now we have a PVT, which Harstem has dominating performance against majority Zerg, sometimes only. But point is, he looked very, very good in his performance for Nation Wars, and he is definitely a good... I don't want to say he's backup for Euthermal, because he's absolutely not, but he's. It's great to have him come out after you take a loss, so he might be able to take out Special, sure, but maybe not. That's okay. Either one of these guys could be the ace. They can depend on each other, basically, which is awesome.
Harstem has an insane record in his tournaments. I think he said like 14-1 or something. So he's only lost one map. Like, he's truly been the ace for Team Netherlands, and I feel like he's going to take no less. Let's just assume he's going to be the revive player as well if he were to lose here. And let's just assume for Mexico it will be Specials. That means he has to beat Special twice and Cham. That's going to be pretty hard, but maybe he can do it. He's been in great shape.
I think he can absolutely do it. I think that versus Cham, I don't want to say Cham just like, you know, it doesn't have a chance because Harsum's been so good at PVZ, but it is less of a chance, I think, because his Protoss versus Zerg just looked like really, not perfect, but close to it. But the PVT, I actually really think that Harsum could take this game right here, right now. I don't know if he loses here and gets revived, maybe the momentum's like a little too strong for Special, but nah, I think for this game right now, Harsum definitely has his best shot.
I wonder why Uthermal actually was sent out in the previous map. Was it like map dependent? Was he preparing to maybe snipe Special, so they thought they sent him first?
Maybe that's the case, actually. I know Roddy was bringing up how much these guys were probably preparing their TVT, expecting to face Special, and then if they do beat Mexico, they got to face the Terran-dominant South Korea, most likely. So that definitely could have been the case. I always thought Acid Plant was fine for Protoss, so I didn't necessarily believe that, like, oh, it's because Acid Plant sucks and Protoss is the worst on it. So. But I know some people have frustrations with that, so it might have been a map choice thing. But now he's forced out, and I believe the remaining maps are Backwater and Neon.
Okay.
And maybe one I'm forgetting, but I can't remember it now. So not sure which one's coming up here. I guess we've got some crowd hype going on. A nice little trophy.
Yeah.
Actually, something that can fit into your luggage to take back home.
I saw a Coca sign that says Coca out. I just wonder what it's about. Some French memes.
Yes.
I'm sure.
Yeah. That's usually where I, defer to you, man, for the French memes.
Yeah, I don't know about this one. Usually I watch the English broadcast, so gaming, they got like their memes on a whole new level on the French stream.
Gotcha.
That's the main thing with it.
Yeah.
Hey, good turnout here, actually. The crowd's been pretty good.
Yeah. Are there only 2 maps left? I was trying to quickly do math, and it's just is apparently not my forte or Roddy's, as we tried to add 3 different numbers and we failed really really bad. So yeah, because it would be the Harsum revive and then special revive, or no, it would be Cham and then special revive, assumably. So there's 3 maps left over. I just can't remember the 3rd one. And apparently I'm not going to remember it.
Maybe in the near future the technology will be there so that it will come up on screen and then we wouldn't have to guess.
Maybe. But anyways, looks like we just have a little bit of time as Harsum does need to set up.
Tough loss for the Netherlands.
It is.
That could have changed the entire pace of the match.
Aha.
Yeah, taking that.
Ah, Catalyst. That's the map I was forgetting. We had not played on this. Catalyst, Neon, or no, wait, did we? Have I already forgotten all of the maps that we've played on? Because we also have Blackpink that we haven't seen, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Special, Cham, special again, Harsum, maybe again. Oh, that's where I went wrong, man. I cannot math today. We did have a fairly early start.
Pretty even stats, by the way, on the Unviolate score. One of the more balanced maps.
Yeah.
Good change from a Biogenesis where he was like 70+% ZVP.
Yeah. Now we have an idea. We know what the map is. We know what the matchup is. PVT special versus Harsum. I can stop guessing, make myself look like a fool, and we can actually get into what is hopefully going to be a fantastic game. As Harsum coming
jamming.
out. Yeah. Of course, jamming, as always, coming out as the remaining player until the revive for the Netherlands. Let's see what he can do. We're headed into Neon Violet Square in the bottom right. As the Red Terran from Mexico, it is special. And in the top left for the Netherlands, it is now Harsum. So game number 4, should have gone with that, then the math would have been easy. Gosh.
We do that too much as commentators. We torture ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah, game number 4, Harsum not the one who took the lead, so that almost threw me off. But special, actually. I think they're going to reverse the nameplate soon, so that's why we have a bit of a mix-up. But no, special has taken the lead for Mexico by taking out both Optimus and Uthermal, both the Terrans now gone. Maybe they get revived, maybe not. Probably entirely dependent on how this game goes. If Harsum just gets smacked, Widowmine drop kills 20 probes, maybe he doesn't get revived. But if it's a very close one, and certainly I hope that it is, then it's going to be a toss between him and Uthermal.
I mean, in the previous game, I would say I was more impressed with Special, but Uthermal definitely held his own for a very long time. Supplies were even. He was finding some damage here and there. The siege on the fault base that he did was very good. So honestly, when I talk to Netherlands, they seem to be one of the teams that definitely prepared more for this than almost anybody else, I thought. So if the plan the whole time was for Uthermal to try and take out Special, then definitely send him out again. But then he might have to face Cham as well. He would have.
Yeah, he would have to, exactly.
Win,
yeah, Harsum wins against Special here and now. It's then Cham, and then perhaps most likely Special again, if he were to continue his dominance in that PVZ matchup. But we had some very insistent scouting from Harsum. That probe went everywhere to the north side. Special certainly the type of guy that can proxy in a game, and he did proxy, in fact, last game. But now Stargate for Harsum, just sending out a depth across the map. So we have normal openers here.
You know what's the best way to prepare for Special if you have to play him in a tournament?
What's that?
You just go and load up a couple TY VODs and you can expect some similar builds. Well, you know, I joke that, but to be honest, they change their builds pretty often, and they have like definitely more than just one, you know, per map or something. They definitely have a good repertoire of build orders.
Yeah. And not to be on the Special hype train a little bit too much, but sometimes it does feel like he might even have some more variance in his playstyle than TY. TY really is like fitting into his stereotype of the very late game Terran player, where he absolutely can do that. I still think of him as like a mid-game heavy player, but regardless, it is that's always been it's been a common story in StarCraft 2, TY and Special's bromance.
A special one for sure. First Oracle was flying across the map. He's gonna gladly get a snipe here on some of these units that were out of position. The Widowmine Special is very good at anticipating what these Oracles are gonna fly. Harstem, does he react on time? No, the first one is gonna get blown up just like that. And across the map, the Hellion was cleaned up, but that's a huge snipe for Special, who now knows that there was a Stargate opener and already can get ready for the second Oracle, which almost always will be there.
Yeah, it will. What's really cool about that, and we saw this with Uthermal, I mean, we're calling back to a lot of Uthermal games, but he had such great Widowmine positioning along with a Viking too, that you know, Neve had trouble scouting the third CC or the 2 base, and in this case, it's going to be Harsum having trouble scouting that it's a Banshee follow-up, which I think like you really would not expect, and sometimes just looks pretty poor actually against the Stargate opener, but it is scouted, unfortunately, for Special. Almost got away with it.
You know what I think, by the way, has made Special incredibly good against Protoss was all of his defeats to Neeb previously in WCS. Like, he lost to Neeb a bunch of times, and he worked super hard on his Terran versus Protoss, and he came back strong up until the point he finally beat him. And like from there, he's looked like a different guy against Protoss. Like before, for a long time, he was struggling quite a bit in some of these big tournaments whenever he would meet a top Protoss, but nowadays, like, he looks so scary, I feel like, in the matchup. And right now, Harstem definitely making something good happen there, tagging that Banshee and taking it out before it can do any damage.
Yeah, you know, sometimes I feel like Terrans don't really get to feel the loss of an Oracle in an early game, like what just happened, but I think when Terrans go Banshee and they lose the first Banshee like that, that's kind of like the equivalent Terran to Protoss. Could even lose the second one, although it looks like Harsum was not paying attention, because it looks like he has the energy, but this Banshee's not going to be doing a whole lot anyways. There's a shield battery, which literally, like, the Banshee cannot kill a probe as long as the shield battery is there. It needs 2 Banshees.
Yeah, let's see if Special can find some damage somehow. That probe gets back to safety just on time. The Banshee is going to get tagged, and that's going to be it here for it.
Not even a probe? No, shield battery, cool. Cool.
Good unit. Shield battery, good unit.
Yeah, very good response, of course, from Harsum to slap down the shield battery. That's absolutely worth. I mean, I realize it's going to be, you know, some amount of minerals, because maybe he got 1 in all 3 of his bases, but absolutely worth for taking no damage to the Banshees, which did push back Special's opener a tiny little bit. He's already on his way to a 3rd, and he still has some presence here with the Widowmines trying to be clever once again, but there's a big gap between his aggression, because he hasn't really had any, and his stim, which is only like just past halfway done, so just really not a lot that Harsum has to worry about.
I always thought that against the Stargate opener, like, you always know there's the quick 3rd base. You kind of have to go like all out on the aggression or on expanding and being greedy. But it feels like it's reverted into completely the opposite. Terrans, they are kind of happy to just sit back. They accept that the 3rd base is going to go up, take their time. In this case, like, Special is just going to be taking the 3rd base with a lot of units that he has already got, and he's going to wait until he's got a critical mass of units against what Harstem's going to have, which is a couple Stargate units that are very good at defending drops in small numbers, but not so much when they start being more, and also very focused on gateway units, which are not always the most mobile. So if he can do some good drops with like his massive army right now, in particular the Widow Mines are going to be very scary. Special could start on pulling very far ahead.
Harstem almost caught the Widow Mine drop. Luckily, Special was paying attention, so he still has that on the way. If Phoenix is going to at least be able to scout it and probably take down the medevac. We'll see if the Widow Mines, though, can be unloaded and do any damage. Shield doesn't really help against Widow Mines. Harstem, is he going to pull away? No, he's distracted by the attack. Finally pulls, and just barely in time, splits his units too. Not perfectly. 7 probes go down, but the medevac is going to die, which makes... I actually think 7 probes not that great for Special, because he also lost the push at the 3rd.
Yeah. It's almost like he wanted to prove a point. He's like, well, where's your shield battery now? Try and save these.
Yeah, that was probably what his plan was. Special just being denied, again, with the aggression is a little worrying, but Harstem, while he is having like his upgrades, he's on his way to double Robo with Robotics Bay. He's not on a 4th base, so that's kind of like the good news here for Special, who's going to go for something very dangerous. Going to run into a single Phoenix for the scout, but maybe recall here to help.
Yeah, if you can... Yeah. If you can force that recall and then get out, then you know that there is a long cooldown on that. And then the next time he does this, Special will be able to do a lot of damage. He's going to quite a few Liberators. And we have Disruptor production out of Harstem, so not quite opting for the Colossi that we see a lot of the time there. And instead, he's going to grab a Prism. I like that a lot. And look to try and do some damage across the map, I'm guessing, with that. Unless he wants to keep his army to reinforce, but usually... The first option much better to try and do some damage across the map with it. It
is a little scary for Harstem to be pushing. I feel like in his position, how well he's defended, it's not. But considering he just used his recall, that's why I'm scared about this push out. But it does make sense in the context of a PBT usually. Plus, again, stock ticket, this Liberator, this is not really a problem. And his push could do something, especially because the Disruptor was going to be a surprise. It is unfortunately found out, and Special can now try to micro against it. Went for quadruple Liberator production. So no range on these girls, I guess, but there's going to be a lot of them.
I like that. Blink on the way now for Harstem, so they actually take a big engagement here in the middle of the map. This is weird. Special engaging into Harstem, play right into Harstem's hand because he wanted to go for a push anyway. That's why he made a Prism. Dark Shrine now being dropped down. Remember, like the upgrades, definitely going to be playing in Harstem's favor because he's got 2-2 on the way already. And no sign of a... actually, no, he does have the 4th base. Yeah, I was like, I saw it in the production tab. No, so he's taking the 4th base around the middle of the map here. Is Harstem instead of the pocket one with less minerals. But still on the Disruptor production, like he hasn't yet transitioned into Colossus, so he wants to get a lot of these guys and synergize with the Blink, but Special actually engages, I think knowing that there was no Disruptor shots available, and he was ready to micro as much as he needed to. Finally, the Prism finds his way in the main. Let's see if Special can defend appropriately.
Special's army, well, it's sizable in its bio. It's really so all about the Liberators. So I think this is really hard for Terrans to react to this. It's going to go into the natural or 3rd, whatever you want to call it here. And this is just a big distraction. Gets quite a few SCVs. Harstem also still on the front line. Is going to find anything rallying forward. Marines, Liberators, anything. And he doesn't quite grab them. He is on his way to a fleet beacon. He's preparing for the next step of TVP. He does need to get those Tempest. Liberator counts climbing a little bit too high.
Yeah, does he still have a Prism actually? Because with the Dark Shrine just finishing, those DTs could be very, very dangerous now. Okay, that was the worst tag ever. Completely whiffed. That was funny, but it was Disruptor that was being attacked because he kept on taking damage and damage, but it was very few units that were attacking it, and eventually he was like, oh yeah, and then he slapped back with a Purification Nova and killed all the bio that was attacking it. Stargate, yeah, on the way with the fleet beacon now. So a second Stargate being added on, and the Tempest transition could be on the way here in a second from Harstem, who's happy to be well set up on 4 bases, now taking the gases start out there. He sees the amount of Liberator, like it's very scary to fight this many Liberators without Tempest, so definitely the right choice, I think, to go for that. And he might need to buy time. That's why those tags are great, because he sees the entire army, so all he has to do is kind of stand there, delay the attack for as much as possible.
Whoa! Whoa, whoa, whoa,
Patience! Get out of Harstem's body!
Yeah, that was quite the bold blink forward. It's still a sizable ground force with some decent upgrades, not like super amazing, but all right on the attack. And that was a little bit scary. Harstem is going to want to try and take engagements like that whenever Liberators aren't sieged up.
Oh my god!
While he's still building the Tempests.
He's getting blink DTs!
Oh gosh.
Fear Dragon!
Happy.
He just woke up somewhere and he's getting all wingly tingly, feeling like something's weird's happening.
Is he really going to use it though? I don't like. We'll see. Sometimes you see that research because they have a surplus of
and then they
economy.
forget they even have Dark Shrines.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. This attack on the Planetary with so many disruptors, really no way the Planetary is going to survive. Catches a ton of SCVs as well. Some nice picture-in-picture of the Dutch team, I believe, is really cool. It's turning into a bit of a base trade, which makes the Liberators hard to use. They have to siege up on top of Stalkers that are already killing them. So not a good trade for Special at all, but how is his push going? He's on the other side of the map. It's only Bio, not even with Medivacs, a single Medivac.
Yeah, and the Dark Shrine might be coming into play here as well in a second. Remember, I see a DT being warped in Harstem across the map, ignited the base trade earlier. This is the power of having so many disruptors and recall available. You can do that. You can get away with it a lot of the time, and he's going to be able to recall some back home after sniping a very important orbital. And Special will have to tap out. Harstem brings back the score to 2-2.
You know what's really impressive was that just wasn't it wasn't a super close nail-biting match necessarily. Harstem looked to be in almost perfect form. The Oracle dying in the early game was kind of it, and then he scouted the Banshees, reacted to them perfectly. He dealt with the pushes every single time, and he controlled the map with disruptor play. Like really nice PVT from Harstem.
These guys are loving it. They're so pumped. Just like in the football match they were referring to, he got a penalty in the last second, and the Dark Templar shot it, Zombie Grub.
He didn't get to warp in a single Dark Templar, did he?
No, he did at the end. Like for the defense, I think maybe it wasn't even useful, to be honest. Okay. But he went for Blink DT. That's all I know. I'm happy about that in itself. And now it seems like Harstem will have to face Cham.
Yes. So game number 5 is going to be coming up. It is a guaranteed PVZ, and then we're down to our aces. If Cham were to, well, if Cham wins, I guess it's still down to Netherlands ace, but Cham, yeah. The remaining maps are, now that I remember them, Catalyst and Blackpink and Backwater. There we go.
You know, when we talk about Mexico, we talk a lot about Special, but Cham definitely started pulling his own weight.
Yes.
In the very quarterfinals, he all-killed Brazil, which Brazil is pretty good. Like, this is not like one of those countries where, you know, they only have mostly like just one good player and stuff. Like, not only they have Kelazur, like he's also an extremely good player. So for Cham to all-kill Brazil, I would say, like, he's playing very well. It's a different matchup, though. And have to face a very strong Protoss against Zerg.
Yeah, I think facing Harstem right now after his performance in the past Nation War weeks, like just weeks ago, is going to be very tough for a Zerg player. But guys, we're going to go to a quick break, and when we come back.
I think Special beating Korea, it's very motivating, and me beating Brazil is very exciting, so I would say both of them. Huevos rancheros. Tacos or burritos? Tacos, definitely. Oh, Special, of course, man. Nah, just kidding, both of them, but more Special. I believe in Sarah, man. He's my boy. He can take them out. I think so. Ah, Special. Yeah, it feels more, I don't know, like an achievement. Oh, Protoss OP, of course. Jesus, man. Oh, practice all day. Win Nation Wars. Or both. It will be definitely both, but Nation Wars definitely is more an achievement with money, pride. It comes a lot behind it. Broodlers. Macro game. Oh, okay. I like both of them, but I will pick Artosis because he followed me on Twitter. StarCraft 3. I didn't get to play Warcraft, so I born with StarCraft, so Team StarCraft till death. What is the French kiss? Special kiss. And the other one, fries? French fries. Ah, French fries.
And here now we are back for our 5th game between Netherlands and Mexico. We got to know a little bit about Cham, who's going to be our next player.
I love that. He's like, French kiss, what's that?
What is this?
He's like, no, fries for sure. I love
Somebody explain, off screen, like, I rather have fries.
Yeah. No, I love those videos, but I must say I was disgusted with the answer that Harstem gave when he picked ketchup over mayo. I mean, I'm actually going to call the local embassy here and see if we can actually just take his passport away, because no Dutchman should ever pick ketchup over mayo.
Ketchup. No, I do understand, but I don't think that you want to, take out Harstem anyways, because he's actually doing pretty well for your country at the moment.
We kind of need him.
Yeah, just wait a little bit. At the end of the tournament, maybe we'll talk about
Monday morning, we're going to have an intervention about this mayo over ketchup thing, or the other way around for him, rather. But sick match so far. It's definitely delivering kind of what we expected. We knew that this was going to be a close one, but it's safe to say that the victory that Harstem just got is potentially the biggest one that we've seen so far in this nation war.
That was a massive victory. It was really important in the, the general idea of this best of 7. I mean, you did lose Uthermal earlier against Special, so basically your supposedly heavy hitter is already out of the way and will have to wait to be revived maybe. But right now, Harstem just, he takes it back right away.
The map,
I think, with an amazing fashion as well.
Yep, I think the map really helped, and the Dutch team was planning situations ahead along, and they also said, worst case scenario, we're down 1-2, then you can play on Neon Violet Square, because they had the option to pick map 4. That's how it went back and forth. It was like Blackpink, we're rather safe, maybe Backwater we want to save for later on. But let's do forward map Neon Violet Square, so in case I have to come out, I can come out then. And I honestly think that Blackpink is obviously a much more difficult map, because there's a lot of builds that Terran can use on that map that arrive so much faster and are 10 times stronger than they would ever be on Neon Violet Square.
Yeah, I think it was a really great map for him. I mean, Harstem showed us a lot of greedy builds and double forge play, super defensive, played amazing with his oracles and his Phoenix control throughout this entire game, and then suddenly he's got those massive upgrades and he's able to fight head on.
What I love the most,
had a lot of liberators.
What I love the most about that game, Funka, as this audience is just sick. I mean, they're feeling it. They can't hear you, know that, right?
They're so pumped. I don't know. It doesn't matter.
No, what I love the most about that game is probably one of the most boring moments, but after he lost that first Oracle, he still moved out with the second Oracle, and he moved out with the Adepts to have some map presence, not really to do damage, but just to see what's up. And that's when he spotted that first Banshee, and I think that made everything so much easier for him. Because if that Banshee shows up and the Oracle's on the other side of the map, that's going to be like 5, 6, 7 probe kills easily, maybe a few more if the second Banshee shows up, and I think it would have been a completely different game.
Yeah, it's a massive scout, definitely, and it helped out tremendously considering those 2 Banshees. I don't believe they got a single probe, which is quite crazy, and that's how also I was able to tell myself, Harstem is feeling it, His micro, his reaction to it, even like a little probe that was, going down to the natural, he picked that up right away, didn't lose it in the end. He feels super comfortable, and in this tournament, he has been playing like a god. Ever since the beginning, he's now 15-1. If you count the round of 32 matches, if you count just the main tournament, he's 11-1. Keeps on giving.
The year is turning into the decade, like he said as well. He loves it, the decade of Harstem. Next match is going to be a tough one, though. Chem is obviously here not to just show up and play a fun game and lose. Like, no, Chem wants to show that his very strong performance in 2017 that he had, where he was actually a serious contender of making it to the WCS Global Finals.
Definitely.
He didn't make it in the end, guys, but he got very close. I think he was 2 or 3 spots off in the end. He wants to show that 2017 wasn't a fluke and that Chem in 2018 is even stronger.
Oh yeah, and he also is playing pretty well in Nation War. Has just all-killed Brazil to make it here in Paris. So I think the stars are aligned for a really great PVZ, and obviously Harstem looked amazing in PVZ, but just Cham in general just showed up with the level, and he's definitely the second best player in this Mexican lineup. And if today he's able to gather all his forces and do like a really great game against Harstem, I can definitely see him win.
Yeah, the map is going to be Blackpink, that I do know. And Blackpink is a fun map. It's one of those maps where a lot of product players, they feel very indifferent about this map.
Yeah.
None of them would say that they love it, but they also don't hate playing on it, because there are a couple of fixtures on this map, or futures rather, that actually allow Protoss to get away with some of the things that Protoss players love and everyone that doesn't play Protoss hate. Like, there's a lot of ramps. Sentries can be very powerful on this map.
Are pretty nice.
There's a lot of points where you can actually create some devastating choke points for Zerg players to attack into. Chem
is a funny Zerg, because he used to be the type of Zerg that would drone, and then just attack with a bunch of queens and nothing but lings, roaches, and ravages. He was that Zerg for a while, but he truly stopped being that Zerg. He's a Zerg that likes to play Hive, but he's also the Zerg that likes to win with his first Hive attack, if not do devastating amounts of damage so that he pretty much won the game. He is not the Zerg that wants to sit back forever, create a line of spore crawlers. No, he's no Snoot, he's no Sero in that regard. He is capable of being a Hive tech Zerg, but he wants to win the moment he shows up with Hive tech units.
Yeah, usually he does have like that kind of timing-oriented focus. Even though he goes into the late game, he goes into the tier 3 technology, he does want to win right after. As you can see, last 3 results were against Brazil, and everything is a win. He was able to ult kill. That's 2 ult kills in Nation Wars. He's 8-1. Really great season from the Mexican Zerg, and now he's got a tall order, because somebody will have to put out the Hearthstone fire, because this guy, just amazing.
Yep. I mean, let's not forget about the maps that are still left. If Cham would fall here, you still have Backwater in the map. Well, that's, I mean, some players would say like, for Terran, at least they can go up to 3 bases safely and they don't have to worry that much. Any Protoss that can just sit back on 3 real bases, it's technically even better than what Neon Violet is. So it would be massive here for Cham. It's not that it's over for Mexico, because we know that Special is capable of crazy things, as we already saw in this season, but it's a very big game, and I think for Cham it's a special game as well. Obviously, no pun intended, but obviously he wants to shine for Mexico. But I also feel like one of his breakthrough performances was 2 years ago in Tour back then, right? I think that was one of the first times we saw Cham on a big international stage and actually playing some really good games. I think he pushed Showtime to the limit, where he had a 2-0 lead and then still lost 3-2.
Was it quarterfinals? I do remember he was on stage on the last, so it might have been quarterfinals. And yes, indeed, I mean, Cham has been constantly rising in terms of level for the last couple of years, and as you said, it's a crossroad right there. Like your carry is out of the way, you need to wait for a potential revival. Now it's your time to shine. You're in front of a really great crowd, great audience, there's a lot of stakes, and yeah, now we can make it happen. If he does, it would have to be against Hearthstone here on Blackpink, because for some reason we're not showing the right map, but it's gonna be Blackpink. Now it's happening. So Blackpink, as we can see, a pretty cool map, and you mentioned it, a lot of ramps that can be abused. I think last time I've seen Hearthstone play
was it the game against Snoot, with the Sentry Immortal, but a lot of adapts.
Yeah, and he has that potential to defend with those chokes, but also abuse them offensively, like he showed against Snoot. We'll see what happens in this game 5. One team will lead the score here and be 1 point away from making it to the finals of Nation Wars 5.
For Hearthstone, it would be just another big victory in this season so far that he has absolutely been crushing. And if they somehow get the job done here, it's definitely a lot because of him. But this man will try to stop him. Representing Mexico, he said, tacos any day over burritos. I can get behind that. It's Cham.
And his opponent is in perfect form in those Nation Wars with amazing stats. Representing Netherlands, he is Hearthstone. And the crowd loves him.
I'm conflicted. On one hand, I feel happy emotions. I feel Netherlands. I feel Hearthstone. On the other hand, I feel ketchup over mayo. And I have never been that offended in my life. We've got to work on that. Anyway, Blackpink is okay, he did open up Hatchwood, never mind. The intros were kind of long. I was like, is this cheeky? No, it's not cheeky at all. It's actually pretty standard what Cham is showing us here. I'm really curious to see what Cham will see. I think he will drop a Roach Warren. He will just defend with a couple of Roaches, whatever Hearthstone decides to do. I'm expecting a Stargate into, Twilight follow-up, but probably just Archons and Zealots. I don't think he will necessarily go for that Adept build again. But he does have pretty fast 2 gates, actually.
That's the thing, right? Like, I mean, he did drop Double Gateway right after, so that's quite an offensive, or at least an aggressive strategy to start things off on the side of Hearthstone. So we'll see what he decides to go for. A couple of cheeky Adepts probably to disrupt the mineral mining from Cham. Will try to get a 3rd base going for himself. For now, no Roach Warren, still like building up some drones.
That would be way too early. If that would happen, I would shake your hand, I would grab it and be like, Funka. He's crazy. He's crazy. He's putting it all on the line now. Chem is not that type of Zerg anymore. He used to be full of crazy builds, like kind of a little bit like True in a way, you know, where they would just make a silly amount of queens, and no matter how big the map, they would start the March of the Queens with roaches and ravages and links. But those builds, they just don't really work anymore. I'm not expecting Chem to do that. Chem is your pretty standard Zerg, other than the fact, which we just mentioned, that if he has an attack in mind, that's not an attack to see how it goes. It's often is an attack, let's try to win. But when that attack comes, that is always very tough to predict when you play against Chem.
Yeah, and he does have pretty good control over his units in general, and he's able to be lethal when he goes for those attacks. So let's see how this game shapes up, as the 2 adepts that we expected are already on the way. They will try to shed in aggressively to the natural and get a couple of drones for himself, or at least scouts a little bit. Does he accept those shades? There's a lot of holdings here. 1 drone just goes by, will go down. The second one does get picked up. 3 drones, considering how bad it started.
Exactly.
I think it's decent. But yeah, it was a confusing acceptance of the shades here.
I'm with you there, Funka. I am actually thinking that 3 drones is the absolute best case scenario that Hearthstone could have ever wished for. Now, all these links are still out, and if you lose your first 2 adepts, it becomes a little harder to go up to 3 bases as quick. And some of these Protoss builds allow you to go up to 3 bases, because then you would mean you have to keep the Oracle at home, and you have to activate Pulsar Beam a couple of times. This Stalker takes a lot of damage, but the adepts are about to show. It seems like Chem really wants to get this Stalker, though.
And I think he might go into the natural, no building. He's going to go just with the adepts and the Oracle. And as you said, he had to use Pulsar Beam. So that's a little bit of the opportunity for this Oracle to deal some damage at the opposite side of the map. Lost the Stalker. I think Chem is quite happy with what the Lynx just achieved.
Yeah, I don't think he had to activate Pulsar Beam there, though.
No.
With the 2 adepts, and the link count was actually pretty thinned out. Only 6 or so links were remaining after they did manage to take out the Stalker, which was nice. It was an even trade, but I definitely would have preferred to see Hearthstone save Pulsar Beam there and try to get lucky on the other side of the map. But that's not going to happen. Now, of course, that Oracle wasted some time as well, so Chem had all the time in the world. Those spores were actually a tiny bit late. Imagine if they would have just flown right in.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think he felt a little bit okay with the fact that he had Zerglings at the opposite side of the map, but also played a little bit of a greedy game there, but didn't get punished in the end. We'll get a drone Hearthstone, that is, with the second Oracle. Second drone was saved, so he does have that map control that you were referring. We talked about a lot, about the fact that Protoss players tend to go Stargates still right now, even though the drops from the Zergs have been nerfed. But it's just like you want to have map presence, and they do achieve that. They do get the drones, they get the scout done. It's just a powerful unit in the matchup. And now transitioning into Twilight and Forge, so a little bit later into the game.
Yeah, he lets the Shade finish up, and he gets a couple of drones once again with these adepts. That's a lot of lost mining time as well, and potentially 1 or 2 more drones will go down. He cancels the Shade. Hearthstone on a little bit of a rampage. At the same time, he shows up in the main base, and just like that, Hearthstone has taken out 12 drones.
It's so sick. I mean, he's already at 60 probes, and he got like, not even wanting to do damage with those adepts. I thought I ended up killing 5 drones, and then swept into the main base with the 2 Oracles with nice micro. He gets 12 drones and lost 2 adepts for this.
It's amazing.
It is an amazing start for Hearthstone that takes a sizable lead here with his 3rd base. And as you can see, some roaches are crossing the map, but they've been spotted right away by Hearthstone.
And this roach count is not high enough. Hearthstone started Immortal production very early on, so he's got 2 Immortals out. 2 Immortals, a couple Zealots in the mix here, a Sentry. There is no way that these roaches can achieve a whole lot. I think that Chem is kind of faking this, pretending to be a little bit aggressive and at least buy some wiggle room for himself on the other side of the map, because he needs to get this 4th base up and running. He needs to be way higher in the drone department. He actually fires up 7 more roaches, which I'm a little bit surprised by, because I feel like if he wants to win this game, it's going to be because of Hydras and maybe Lurkers down the road. But with just roaches, I'm not totally sure.
Yeah, it's quite a dangerous strategy that he's going for here. He's going to lose some more drones here with the Phoenix lifting up the Queens. And once again, I think Hearthstone's micro is on point, man. It's the second time today that I really do feel like those tiny adjustments that you do to the positioning of your units, the dropping the force fields and the Oracles and stuff like that, he's really, really on point. And it sounds a little bit dangerous, a little bit spooky to the Mexican player here. That's, as you said, just building nothing but roaches, just replaced a couple of drones, gets glial reconstitution, but no Hydra Dam.
Now, if you don't watch too much StarCraft, you may be thinking like, well, Chem is still like in a minor supply lead. This isn't all that bad for the Mexican Zerg. Why are they so biased? It kind of is, guys. Like, the soup doesn't often lie, but it kind of lies a little bit right now. And with the soup, of course, we mean the supply. Yes, Chem has a minor supply lead, but it's a very inefficient supply lead.
Yep.
He is almost just maxing out on the roaches, making nothing but roaches. Now, if you catch your opponent off guard, if the roaches get right on top of Immortals and Archons, maybe it can work, but Harstem has those Oracles out, and it's just unlikely you can surprise a Protoss player with that many roaches. And all that Harstem has to do, I mean, he can attack, his army is basically strong enough, but he technically doesn't have to. If you just sit back, you get some more storms out, you get a higher Immortal count. This attack is very unnecessary, and maybe Chem can somehow get the fighting dreams off.
Look at
oh my
how
god.
many roaches there is. Like, you don't want to be there yet. Force field into recall. I think that's the only option, because you're going to lose so many great units here. Lots of cost. Whoa, he actually warps in. Harstem is a crazy guy. There's too many roaches. They're warping, and the recall will go down. Cham defends it. He did have a lot of roaches on the field, and that's what they're good at. They need to fight. They need to fight right away, get a concave. But this time, defensively, it's going to be a different order.
It's a little similar to what happened in Harstem versus Snoot in that game on Acid Plant. But this time, on Blackpink, I think I kind of like where this is going for Chem now, because he did manage to pick off a couple of those big units. There aren't too many force fields available. Storm isn't done yet. Immortals are fantastic against roaches, but can they overcome this supply deficit, which is like 60?
Oh yeah, it's going to be a tough one, Roddy. That's going to be a super tough hold for Harstem. Does have 4 Immortals, but as you mentioned, he doesn't have any force field. The roaches, they come in for the hug. The Prism Micro is amazing on the side of Harstem. He will keep on going in for it, but the Bile, it connects with the Immortal. Can he do it? The Oracles ran out of energy. The Void Ray trying to do as much as he can. The Micro with the Prism. The 3 Immortals, they're not going to die, Roddy.
But the Roach count is still like quite healthy. A lot of probes do go down. Sick War Prism Micro still, but the Immortals.
He is holding.
Yeah, I mean, he's cleaning up most of it. 2 Immortals still alive. That Void Ray is putting on the overtime. The second Void Ray showed up as well. 26 probes went down, but Harstem is still alive.
Exactly, and he still has 59 probes, so if he does defend with the extra upgrades that he's getting right now and the better quality of his army, maybe he can make it work. But now, the reinforcements coming from Cham. A lot of roaches coming in. But as you see, Immortals are just wrecking those roaches, and if he doesn't lose them because of that Prism Micro, he will hold. How many kills is this?
That's insane. The Void Rays as well, though. 29 probes went down. But Harstem still lives. The Oracles have somehow regained some energy as well. No barriers, but he picks them up again. That Prism, 1 Immortal does go down. The other 2 are so low in HP. I don't think they have barriers.
It is so pivotal for Harstem to not lose those Immortals, and down from 3, he goes to 1. Only 1 Immortal to defend. Shield Battery holding a little bit more. This is such a crazy attack from Cham that he's being held, and he doesn't have that many resources. 119 supply. Holland stands strong here.
Isn't that a bloodbath over there, Funka? 84 roaches went down, 54 Zerglings, 3 Ravagers. Harstem got a little too aggressive, had to recall, was a little out of position. But the Void Ray production is honestly what saved him there, I think. If we could see a damage counter on those Void Rays, they would be off the charge.
1 million damage in the last 2 minutes, but obviously being on point with his Micro and that Prism, those double Immortals dealt so much damage, killed so many roaches, and we're still in the same situation. The technology is not that good from Cham. He realizes it and will start building some Hydralisks, but it's a little bit too late, I think. Whopping in some sentries, will get one with a nice snipe, but those 2 force field a little bit missed. A couple of roaches will get destroyed. And now Cham needs to find a way to go back into this game. He will go for those Hydras.
With the Hydras, there is hope. I mean, yes, there is Storm out, but I don't think we have a single High Templar on the map. This game is okay. We do have 2 of them, so they're gathering up a little bit of energy. Now, obviously, Storm is the one very, very scary prospect for those Hydras. But technically, on creep, and Chem is still spreading creep as well. We know that if you dance a little bit with your Micros, miracles are absolutely possible for Zerg.
Yeah, he will have to split. He will have to dodge those storms, because I guess when Harstem will feel comfortable on those 4 bases, he will invest most of his gas into it. He goes into double Robo Immortal production, keeps on adding sentries. I didn't see that many Templars. I don't believe that he has a lot of them, maybe a couple. He's actually overproducing in Archons, and he's got 5 Templars, which is a good number.
Yeah, you don't want to have too many Archons if the Hydra count goes very high, because you know, Archons don't really have the range. You have to get on top of those units, and obviously you want to be able to land your storms. But of course, as long as that High Templar count goes up, which it has been over the last few minutes, it was 2 for a bit, and now we're looking at least 5 storms. And if this continues for a little while longer, we could potentially be looking at 10 storms. And yeah, I mean, splitting your Hydras is always an option against a couple of storms, but against 10, I'm not sure how you're supposed to pull that off.
Yeah. Where are you going to go if there is nothing but storm around you? You can split, you can dodge, but you will dodge into another storm.
Ooh, Cham,
and that's already a really good start of a fight for Harsem. Gets a lot of Roaches and Hydras for free. Just a couple of force fields have been used here, and the rest of the army on the right side. Yeah, he's going to try to, you know, get that that fight a little bit further away from him with some drops into the main base.
I mean, I do love the potential of a massive Zerg drop there, because Cham needs to do something. He can't just sit back and fight that army straight up. You want to keep it hidden. I don't think that Harsem spotted it well, and now he definitely did, because he takes control of the Xel'Naga Watchtower. There are Void Rays here as well, and Archons. Oh my goodness, these Overlords are in a lot of trouble.
He's gonna hunt him down. He is going to hunt him down. He has to unload all the Roaches and Hydras, but they don't have the room to maneuver around. They're getting shredded by the Zealots.
They're so slow.
And we're not even using any storms for now. It's just the Archons and the Zealots that are beating most of the army from Cham. This is not looking good at all from Mexico, with a Zealot run by on the third base. Now the Prism will relocate to the main, and Harsem is playing a beautiful game here.
Yeah, he's going to take out this 5th base. He's still active with that Prism in the main base as well. More and more Zealots being wiped in. And don't forget about the potential of Psystorm. He still has all those High Templars. So yes, the Hydras would have done fine without Storm, but there is plenty of Storm.
Oh, the Storms rain down on Hydralix and Roaches, and GG! Harsem takes game 5. It's now 3-2 in favor of the Netherlands. What a game.
What
he was so close from dying.
What a hold.
What a crazy game. And, and the audience is obviously liking this one. The teammates, everybody's happy about that victory here.
We asked Harsem in one of his interviews where it just felt like he was playing so well, and he was beating all those Zergs from Sweden in that One Nation War.
Yeah.
And he said it as well. He's like, yeah, I can't really explain it. It's just sometimes when I feel like I'm playing well, I just feel like I'm playing really well. Like everything goes, everything flows well, all the little things work out. And in both games, it felt like the very first thing that happened in the game, he lost his Oracle against Special. That was bad, but he followed it up with a great scout, took 0 damage from the Banshees, and made it his game. In this game, the first 2 adepts, it didn't feel great. But then the next adepts, the next Oracle arrest, he just starts building up so much momentum. Almost overstepped when he was trying to attack on the left top side, which would have been a good attack if Cham was stacking up, but Cham was making an insane amount of Roaches. Definitely surprised Harsem there, but the recall is truly what saved Harsem.
That was the saving grace here for Harsem, and being able to at least save a couple of those units and those Big Daddy Immortals, obviously, that did well a lot in defending the Prism, the Void Ray. A lot of those units were really clutch in that defense. It didn't look good at all, because there was just a million of Roaches. But yeah, he did in the end. He kept his cool, and he was able to take the game against Cham. So now Mexico is in a bit of a pickle. They do have to revive someone. We do know that we all expect Special to be that guy, but he has to go against Harsem once again. And that PVT, I think Harsem really showed him, you know?
Yep. There we do have our announcement. We're not even going to wait until the last second. It is going to be Special. The ace of Mexico so far in this season, as he carried them before to the finals in Season 2, and he's looking still as good as ever. But Harsem is also on point, and we've got 2.
Oh, Warcraft 4 for sure. Baguettes. Rotterdam, yeah. I will lose his follow, but...
I just lost his follow. That's what happens if you say anything about Lotad. Then yeah, he's got that power.
The good thing is we have all lost his follow once upon a time.
Yes.
And you always get it back, you know. He's a very forgiving man.
He is. He is.
You haven't really made it if Todd has not at least unfollowed you twice, but also make sure that he refollows you.
Oh yeah. But you need to you know, make it work. You talk to him, and then it's happening again. He follows you.
So don't worry, Jim.
Yeah.
Don't worry, Jim. It's gonna be a okay. When Warcraft 4 comes out, you'll get a second chance of that.
Exactly. Not if you beat him, though. If you start beating Todd at Warcraft 4, it's over forever. So I think our small technical issue is being resolved right now. We should be hopping into this game. I know you're all waiting for that. We are waiting for this game to start. We're really eager to know what's going to happen in this first semi-final between Mexico and Netherlands. One game away from advancing to the finals.
We spoke a lot about the potential ways that Special could play in this matchup, but I'm also curious to see what Hearthstone brings out. Like, it could very well just be that Stargate, that one gate fast expand into a Stargate, and then most likely a single Oracle. And then I guess then it just truly depends on what he sees and where he takes the game. But the same build, for instance, that he played on Neon Violet, I honestly don't believe you can pull that off on Catalyst, because then his bio army is just going to run to the other side of the map. You're going to stand there with like 7 stalkers. You're like, okay, I can blink a couple times, and now I've got no DPS.
And now he's already in your natural. Yes, that's the thing. Like, if you try to kite, then suddenly he's already at your opposite side of the map. Catalyst being so small. But yeah, you're right. I think you can't play as greedy as he tried to do, as he tried to play. On Catalyst, it's not the map for it. So then, what's the mid-game portion of the game? What is it going to look like, in your opinion?
I would like to see a different style, just no Stargate, and just open up Twilight. Okay. Just like, if you scout the 1-1-1, which Hearthstone does this thing as well with his probe. I don't know if you guys noticed this or not, but he kind of delays his scout up to the point where he hopes that the Reaper is out of the way. Then your probe scout is late, but it will potentially see if there is a factory or not. And in general, you either see the factory or you only see a barracks, but then you already know that, okay, something weird is happening because I'm supposed to see that factory here. And I think maybe it comes down to what he scouts very early on as well.
All right, we can see Juanito on screen. He's the revived player from Mexico, getting ready, trying to figure out how comfortable he needs to be to beat that guy, Hearthstone. Right now, a really, really strong contender. And considering he's not wearing his headset yet, I'd say that Juanito is not satisfied.
He's not satisfied. But I completely understand, and I'm okay with the fact that these players take some time here and want to make sure that everything is 100% correct. Not like, yeah, it feels okay, let's go. And then potentially you have to pause, and then you're going to lose some of your rhythm, your momentum, your focus is gone. Just take your time, because this could very well be the last game that Team Mexico plays. Obviously, Hearthstone is totally fine. He's been playing those games before. But for
he's got some music blasting through his in-ears right now.
Yeah, I wonder what it is.
Yeah, what is he listening to? You want to ask?
No, I don't think. How could we ask him? Oh,
you can stand up and ask him.
I have a sneak peek.
Oh.
I saw something, but I don't know what it is. But he is bouncing around, guys.
Of course. That's the Hearthstone way, though. Yeah. Like, he gets hyped up.
I love he's like Cayenne versus Tupac. He's like, Tupac.
Tupac.
I was like, man, you're way too young for Tupac.
Does that mean that the game is about to start? I like the Coca out sign. Obviously brings back good memories. Obviously a massive shout out to Omen by HP, but also to Maturino that helped us getting the prize pool even bigger than it was. And obviously nothing would be possible without Blizzard Entertainment. So obviously massive shout out to you guys. We're really happy to bring some live action of StarCraft 2 in Paris. It is StarCraft 2 Nation Wars 5 first semi-final, 3-2 in favor of Netherlands, and we are hoping up to Catalyst, Kevin.
Netherlands is on the verge of making it to their first Nation Wars final ever. If they can just take out Special one more time, either here on Catalyst or potentially on that final map, which would be played on Backwater. Would be esports history for the Netherlands. It's the same lineup as they used last year, but we said it from day one in the round of 32. Yes, guys, this is the same lineup, but everyone right now is actually better than they were a year ago. That specifically goes for Optimus, but in a way also for Yuturmo and Hearthstone, because they're just in better shape right now than they were back then.
Almost ready to go. Players are clicking, players are pressing keys. Feels like a game of StarCraft that's starting to me. Kevin will know in a few seconds. As you can see, the trophy that one of those teams will get to keep at the end of the night. In the top left, representing Mexico, he is their last hope. He is Special. And my introduction was way too quick for the French stream.
And over here in the right bottom side, we're looking at the MVP of this team so far, representing Le Pays-Bas. For the Netherlands, it's Hearthstone.
Lots of support for the Netherlands,
yeah,
man.
Of course, they brought flags as well. I'm still not sure if these are French flags that they've turned upside down.
Yeah.
But I am happy to see a couple Dutch flags in the audience.
Oh, Roddy, that's already an interesting start. I mean, did we see a second? Oh, I don't know. Okay, so no second simulator, but Cyberdynamics scored before Nexus. So it's interesting.
Safe. Maybe he's slightly worried about a proxy barracks. Some Terran players do like to proxy the barracks just to get that very fast Reaper into the main base of Protoss. And if your Cybercore is a little later, then you could potentially end up losing like 4 or even 5 probes early on, and that's just not the way you want to start this game. Now instead, he's just going to Chrono Boost out his first Adept. It's a very interesting start. I'm really curious to see where Harstem takes this.
It shows a lot of, potential on the side of Harstem. I like that he can switch things up like this. He goes for the Gateway and Cybercore down the natural, which is going to be helpful for those potential Hellions that you mentioned. Right now, Reaper can't even really, go into scouting mode. He will have to go back a second time, but the second Adept is going to boost it as well.
Yeah, but that's going to be a little bit painful here. You're going to have to micro your probes around a little bit. So Harstem wants to deal damage on the other side of the map, and I think potentially he wanted to drag the Reaper home because he wants to hide his Twilight console.
Oh, you will get the SCV that's building the command center just before it finishes. So that means potentially at some point some kind of supply block. If he can't get an SCV down there and get some supply freed, Stalker is going to be a follow-up. And you mentioned it, Twilight Council. It's about to finish. I'm not sure that the Reaper saw it. I don't know where the Twilight is.
No, I don't think it saw it. I think it's all the way in the right bottom or something, or in the left bottom of the main base.
Okay, oh.
Right top side. All right, so it's blocking that Reaper entrance as well. It's going to be a very fast blink opening. I think that's really smart, and I think that's kind of the way you want to play on this map.
The CC is still not done.
No, this is crazy.
This is crazy. He went for the reactor after that, and he didn't even try to go with the Marines and a couple of SCVs to finish that CC. So right now, the orbital is delayed, which means less mules, and considering he's about to face a potential timing, but at least, a pretty dedicated aggression, I would say, from Harstem, I think it's a little bit worrisome.
Yeah, the fun thing about Blink is that it's super strong defensively. You can obviously use it aggressively as well, like you said, but I don't think that Harstem is necessarily going to go like 6 or 7 gate Blink Stalker. He's just going to use those Blink Stalkers to control the map as the Reaper does get into the main base. He gets a decent scout off there, but we know the power of Blink is to control the map, allow Protoss to go up to 3 bases, even on a small map like Catalyst, and obviously they're great against Cyclones as well, and then potentially have that double Forge follow-up.
Yeah, I like it. Maybe he goes for a couple of cycles of production, maybe 4, 5, 6 Stalkers.
Wow,
for now, an Adept will get a fresh mule, and that's already a super great pickup. Even though the Adept is going to get taken out, I think you're happy with a fresh mule that mined for a couple of seconds and died right away. Now the extra Stalkers are being whopped in. Blake is about to finish.
Super good opening for Harstem. He's sitting on a very comfortable 9-worker advantage. He's going to have a Blink incredibly fast, which he can control the pace of the game with a little bit. And now he's going to go up to 3 bases as well. The Cyclone could potentially be very annoying to deal with because a single Adept is not going to be enough here. The Stalkers are way out of position, so this means that the Cyclone can potentially get maybe a cancel on this Nexus, which would be massive.
Yeah, and that also depends on what the Stalkers do at the opposite side of the map. The bunker is not finished, but he will. Just before the SCV gets targeted down, so really kudos to Special here to dodge a little bit of damage. The 11 probes just died! That was a Widowmine drop in the main.
Wow.
That connected super well on this one. 11! What a crazy amount of probes, though.
That's the dream, and suddenly that worker advantage I mentioned is not existent anymore at all. Harstem is also very heavy on the Stalkers, by the way. He made a few more Stalkers than I would normally expect the Protoss to make in this phase of the game. Stalkers are great for controlling small armies and controlling some army movement, as he's looking for that medevac.
Oh, he's not gonna see it!
That's, yeah, I guess it's on the high ground, right? I guess.
Holy hell!
Oh, now it moved, so now they revealed.
Okay, can he get it though? Nice reaction time from Special, boosting the medevac away.
He needs to start charge, no? Like ASAP?
Yeah, he does.
Okay, there you go.
So,
I guess the momentum from Harstem is a little bit taken out with that Widowmine drop that's still active and also killed 11 probes already. So you will have to go back into something that he showed earlier, which is getting Zealot Charge and getting those double forges.
I love what Special's doing here, Fonka, because he's still distracting him with that medevac. He's keeping him busy, and this is where Harstem potentially wants to make it hard for that army to move to the other side of the map. Guess what? It already left. You missed the train station. Now this Widowmine drop is going to try to connect maybe one more time. It won't get anything done, but he's just going to click on this Nexus.
Oh, he doesn't feel it. Yeah. He will have to go back just for a couple of Stalkers that are putting pressure at the opposite side of the map. But it's kind of weird now. Special will go for it. He will get some probes. Does he go for the Nexus? Not stimming right away.
He doesn't have it yet. It's almost done.
Not done.
Oh, maybe that's why he was waiting. I mean, he is going to get quite close to these probes and maybe get a couple sentries here for his efforts. But in the end, this didn't work out as good as I expected it to be for Special, just because Stim wasn't done yet.
It's actually super great, which is what he just did. Lost 3 probes and I guess 1 sentry, but the sentry that was using Garden Shield didn't get picked off, so was able to protect that small gateway army. Now +1/+1 is starting on the side of Special. We've got +1 attack for the infantry that's finishing, but that's a massive amount of Stalkers, and if you can get a cancel on that third base, that'd be quite amazing.
I mean, Harstem knows where this army is. Scan does go down. He gets a single Stalker for his efforts there. Marauder's going to chase forward. Those Stalkers are a little bit beat up already from some of the fights before, so that means 3 dead Stalkers in the end.
Yeah, it's 3 Stalkers. Oh my god, and the Widowmine drop will come to the third base. Harstem is not reacting. That's 11 probes once again.
The focus fire on those Widowmines is insane. Just when Harstem was getting some momentum back in this game, I love that Special doesn't just let the mine shoot and be like, oh, I hope it's good. Like, no, you can clearly see he's looking, he's calculating where the probe that he wants to fire at is going to be, and if it's going to be close to all the other workers, well, guess what? It was in both scenarios. That's 22 probes with 2 mine drops.
Yeah, it's quite crazy how effective those drops have been. Harstem has to take it a little bit slow now because of that, because economically speaking, he's not doing too well. He needs to replace those probes and get to 50. That's what he does right now, but he would rather be at 66, being able to get that double upgrade going, because for now, it's going to be quite tough for Harstem to pay for those.
Oh my god. Mine is going to shoot one more time. Settle for a Stalker, I guess. He's being annoying. He's switching the targets over and over again. In the end, he doesn't get the Stalker, but what he does get is a probe there. You can see Team Mexico is pumped up. This game is obviously an excellent game at this point for Special, because not only does Special have a supply lead, he's not that far behind in upgrades. 2-2 has only just now started, and economically the Terran is ahead. That's very weird, and also very bad for Protoss. If you don't have power units, if you don't have Colossus, or if you don't have Disruptors or Storm, that's when you're supposed to be way up in workers, because you haven't been investing in any of those expensive things, and you're just doing stuff with Zealots and Stalkers. Instead, it's been Special who's been doing the damage.
Yeah, and the Disruptor that you mentioned, they're probably coming in. And might be Colossus as well.
With double forge, I wouldn't hate Colossus here, but...
But he's trying, though, to get those power units. As you mentioned, the Zealot will get a couple of SCVs. The Prism is still alive. The opportunity to deal some more damage to the main is still there for Harstem. It's even more important than getting a couple of SCVs now. It's just the menace, you know. It's still here. It's hovering around, and you need to plant down defenses, which is the case with as we've seen. A couple of turrets, a couple of Widowmines being burrowed. +2/+2 is here. It's going to be Disruptor to start things off.
Yep. It's only a single robot Disruptor as well. Now, Disruptors do build quite quickly, but maybe Harstem just feels like there's no way that I can wait for Turbulence here. That would just take a little too long, but he needs to still buy some more time. The Liberator goes. Widowmine combo is very scary, but that's a pretty ballsy blink. Now the bio units are coming in from the right side.
Fields? Oh my god, those force fields are going to gain so much time for Harstem to pull back, because he does want to go back here. This army is not equipped to take on that massive amount of bio. He will recall, gets a sentry just before. Nice targeting from Special, who's also losing a couple of SCVs. The Prism found his way to the main and will warp in some more extra Zealots.
I love the random Zealot harass that Harstem is currently pulling off. A couple Zealots coming in on the right side as well, even running into the natural, so finally some economic damage. Obviously it hurts a little less in this phase in the game, but this is pretty severe, and it does give Harstem the time. He has at least 2 upgrades, finishing up a second Robo. Okay, I mean, suddenly he's in a very playable position again.
It's super interesting, right? Because it felt like the Prism couldn't enter the main again. I mentioned how he survived earlier and it was important, but I didn't feel like he could make it to the main. And just like that, with a random Zealot showing up on the third base, he gets 16 SCVs, and he also gained so much more time to get some more Disruptor out. So he gained time and put a lot of damage onto the economy of Special. What an amazing fuss! Oh my god! Harstem!
I mean, it was good, but there's still plenty of bio left. Good focus fire there by Special. He gets the first Disruptor. The Mind is still scared as well. He really wants to get that second one, the Shield Battery. Oh. The Shield Battery saves the Disruptor.
Oh, and the second Disruptor shows up. Second Nova here will connect with a lot of Marines and Marauders. And keep in mind, those are Stalkers and those Zealots there too. Can they do the job? But the Ghost with the EMPs is making it so hard for Harstem here.
And the Disruptor, the Liberators are pushing out so much damage. The couple of Zealots and maybe then a forward blink, he can take care of it. Disruptor will connect with a Ghost. So at least that's something, but more Liberators showing up. Zealots on the other side of the map. This game is going crazy, Fonka.
What's happening with Harstem here? Fighting it back. The DTs are so massive here. Does he did kill his own units. He will blink right away into the Liberators. Gets one, but there's still 3 left. The Liberators are dealing so much damage. Is it going to be enough? Last Nova will connect with the rest of Bio, and Harstem will hold once again. Special is below 100 supply.
He has killed 20 SCVs as well on the other side of the map. Zealots are still running around trying to pick up as many SCVs as possible. Special got a couple, but he lost way more. So Harstem holds, now starts +3 attack as well, but he survived the scariest push.
What a change, what a shift in this game. I mean, all the momentum was in favor of Special, but with a couple of moves, a couple of nice placed harass. Well, Harstem was able, those Zealots, they are the heroes of this game.
And that Shield Battery saving that one Disruptor.
That was so sick as well.
That was like 5 or 6 bio units that were being sacrificed trying to kill it. Harstem is being aggressive here. I don't think he necessarily has to. Maybe he just wants to land a Purifier Nova.
Okay, he's baiting the army, and once again, that's a nice trade-off for those Nova, because he's not even losing the Disruptors. What a god! I can't believe
are running by, and Zealots running by, but Special taking care of this arrest. More units showing up though on the right side. That Dark Templar could maybe run out of the circle.
He's gonna do it! The DT is saved! The DT is saved here, and will be able to deal some more damage if he has the time later in this game. The Observer perfectly placed from Harstem. He sees everything on top of this ramp, and he gets that Widow Mine for free. You don't want to go down that ramp with the vision!
Ooh. Wow, somehow that connected only with a single Marauder. There is a little Widow Mine there in the mix as well. Purifying Nova is going to take care of that mine. The DT will get picked up on the side of Harstem, but this army Special, there is something happening on the other side of the map, and Harstem is distracted, not paying attention.
Exactly, he's losing so many probes that he's not looking at the main fight. Now uses the Nova, gets 10 probes, but that's a Liberator on the 4th base that's dealing lots of damage from Special. This game is once again turned upside down, I would say, or at least Special is climbing back into this one.
The biggest problem are the upgrades though. +3 attack is almost done, while +2 attack hasn't even finished up yet for Special. Well, why does he have +2 army? Did he lose an eBay or something?
Yeah, I think he messed up the production. It's such a hectic game. I think this is the kind of stuff that happens, Terran lacks the gas or the minerals.
He queued them up?
I might have queued them up as well.
In the same eBay, that would have been very, very sad to see. Because obviously the attack is more important in general, especially when you play against Disruptors.
And Special is not having the greatest of time to split against those, right? Like pushing those units, he's not even trying. I know it's a little bit hard, and considering the stakes here, it's even worse. But Harstem is doing work with those Disruptor. Once again, the Nova connects. Nice splits this time, but Special is falling down in terms of supply. He does go for a double drop in counter-attack.
I mean, Dark Templar is being wiped in defensively. Are there any Purifier Novas left?
Yes.
You know what they say? Oh!
Okay. Harstem, can he finish the game? He's gonna lose the +3 defense. No, not even. And at the opposite side of the map, the Disruptor connects, and I think he did it. Harstem does it. He qualifies the Netherlands for the finals. Oh my God, what a play from this guy. Look at him.
Harstem once again with 3 very, very important victories will send the Netherlands to their first Nation Wars final ever. And man, what a spectacular way to do it. What a crazy game on Catalyst. Lost a lot of workers, but the Zealot harass, the hold at home, really, really sick game.
he crawled back into this game. It was so sick. I mean, he wasn't doing well in the early game. He had a lot of problems with this double drop that took 22 probes, but he just flipped the game upside down with the harass and then perfect control over the disruptors. I'm so in love with how he plays. Harstem is a god, and the audience knows it.
16-1. That man is 16-1 in this season of Nation Wars. He just doesn't lose. Lost a single game. And he's been on absolute fight. It was against Neep, right? The PvP against Neep. Is that like the only game he lost?
I think it's the only one, yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, Harstem obviously playing super well, just qualified the Netherlands for their finals. We are waiting moments away to know what those guys have to say about qualifying and potentially face either Finland or South Korea, which will be our next series. And Lotad is with Hajin for the interview.
C'est bon? On m'entend? Super, merci pour l'introduction et félicitations. Nous avons le premier pays finaliste et c'est les Pays-Bas. Wow, Harstem a été incroyable. Est-ce qu'on pourrait les applaudir bien fort encore une fois, s'il vous plaît? Ok, on va d'abord les féliciter, puis on va lui demander comment ils se sentent d'avoir vaincu Spécial. So congratulations, you're the first finalist in this Nation Wars. How do you feel? Like you are so incredible.
I feel pretty amazing. I'm not gonna lie. I feel good. Yeah.
Was it your plan, like the Harstem comes here and like he qualifies Netherlands to the finals?
Well, ideally, yeah. So it worked.
Et on est aussi rejoint par Todd ici, qui va m'aider pour interviewer les joueurs.
Merci, on interviewe les gagnants. J'aimerais leur demander, le plan c'était quoi exactement ici en venant jouer contre le Mexique? Est-ce qu'ils s'étaient préparés particulièrement au thermal par exemple au TVT et pour la Corée, comment est-ce que ça va être similaire par exemple? So I want to ask you, going to this matchup here, you know you had to play Mexico with very strong stance special. Did you specifically prepare, for example, for you, like you focus mostly on TVT because you came out against him? So I was wondering if you could reveal a little bit of your game plan and if that's going to continue up against South Korea if you were to meet them in the finals, if they had to beat Finland, because they still have to do that.
Well, I didn't prepare anything specifically for a special, but my TVT is generally really good. But also the map wasn't that good for Harstem, so when we were deciding who to play, it seemed to be better to put me out. And even after the game, I think I would have gone again against Special. Like, I'm pretty sure I would have had a good shot again.
Okay. Du coup, Harstem, il a pris les 3 dernières games. Et sur la dernière contre Spécial, c'était intéressant parce qu'il a fait beaucoup de disrupteurs. Et je me demande pourquoi il a fait ça. So this last game against Special, you went for disruptors. And we were wondering why disruptors and instead of Colossus, for example.
Well, after the mine drop, I felt a bit behind. So I figured I need to do something interesting to get back in the game. And Colossus are good if you're ahead or equal, but I feel like if you're behind, Colossus, they can't really get the magic shots with Disruptors. Like the cost efficiency of Disruptors is way higher than with Colossus if you're doing good shots. And I felt in the first game I played against him, like he felt a bit shaky. So yeah, I figured I'd just try it again, and it seemed to work, so that's nice.
It worked, it's amazing, so congratulations again. And now you'll have to go against Korea or Finland. Who's going to take it?
Well, I'm kind of feeling Team Finland on this one, yeah.
Is it the same for you guys?
Korea's the favorite, but Finland is really good, so we'll see.
I think Korea's gonna win. Korea's gonna win.
J'aimerais demander à Optimus s'il pense que peut-être jusqu'ici il n'a pas eu trop de succès parce que peut-être il était un peu plus nerveux que les autres ou s'il sait pourquoi en particulier il a eu un peu plus de mal. I want to ask you, Optimus, do you think you've been having a harder time, you know, in this tournament and like or today because maybe you were nervous, or like what do you attribute your difficulties to, and do you think you're going to be able to turn this around in the finals?
This morning when I woke up I was quite nervous, but when we got here and this amazing crowd, it can only go one way, and that's winning it all.
Great, so thank you guys for the interview, congratulations, and we will see you for the finals. So on les remercie, on les applaudit bien fort encore une fois. Le prochain match, ce sera la Corée contre la Finlande, et il y aura une petite page de coupure de pub pendant 2 minutes 30. Allez boire un verre et puis revenez vite ici pour le deuxième match. Merci.